Okay.
Welcome everyone.
Did it reverb?
I'm reverb.
To the That's a new one. Haven't heard that before. Stroke.
We're going to try again, folks. It's called a technical delay. Welcome municipality of Strathroy-Caradoc on Monday, March 2nd. We'll start with a land acknowledgement. Municipality of Strathroy-Caradoc acknowledges it is located on Treaty 21 territory. We are thankful to generations of people who have taken care of this land, including the Chippewa of the Thames First Nation, the Munsee Delaware First Nation, and the United Nation of the Thames. Roll call. I do know that both Councillor Hippel and Councillor Pelkman are absent with notice. I suspect Councillor Derbyshire will arrive in any moment. Motion to approve this evening's agenda. Councillor Wilsey, second by Councillor Palmer. All in favor? That motion carries. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest? Before we go to our first delegation, it's great to see so many people in the gallery tonight. I should tell you, last week I had a group of grade 5s up to class here, and they sit around and they asked, has the gallery ever been full? So I wish I could take a picture and send it to them and show that yes, our gallery is full from time to time. So our first delegation tonight is Mark Eyre. He's going to speak about the Strathroy Hospice, but on one specific matter. So Mr. Eyre, did you want to speak to the first matter you wish to speak to?
I will do, thank you.
You're welcome.
Is this, can you hear me all right?
There's no reverb, so you're good to go.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, councillors, staff. My name is Mark Eyre, and I'm speaking today due to the request from the Strathroy Hospice Charity for municipal support, and because council is now hearing the official plan amendment and the zoning bylaw amendment for the same proposed hospice. I want to start by saying that I respect the goal of the hospice care. I also recognize the generosity behind this proposal, particularly the land donation and the wish to memorialize a loved one through something meaningful for the community. My delegation, now bear with me here, sorry. I don't speak that often. Yeah, my delegation today is not about whether the hospice care is needed. It's about protecting the fairness and the appearance of fairness of today's planning discussions and ultimately the decisions you take down the road. On February the 17th, you received a presentation from the Strathroy Hospice Charity. I had hoped to speak to the council meeting, but I missed the delegation deadline, so I'm here today to put those concerns on the record. The presentation included a request for municipal support to cover municipal fees and other pre-development costs, approximately $65,000, about $35,000 in municipal fees and $30,000 in additional development-related costs. The charity also noted that during the month of December, they had received approximately $32,000 from individuals in our community. That's excellent and strong community support. But it raises a fair question. If the request to the municipality is roughly the equivalent or 1 or 2 months of fundraising, why is it necessary for the municipality to step in now, particularly before you have to make planning decisions that determine whether the project can proceed at this location and in this form? I also want to speak to the principle behind the municipal fees and charges, because this request is essentially asking you to absorb costs that are normally borne by the applicant. We have fees for a reason. Many of these fees exist to ensure that the burden of development-related costs are carried by the development, not downloaded onto general taxpayer. That includes, for example, the costs associated with processing planning applications, like an official plan amendment and a zoning bylaw amendment, and the broader growth-related costs that development charges are intended to cover. In the presentation, the charity said every dollar saved is a dollar redirected. I understand the intent. However, that wording can be misunderstood because a dollar saved by the applicant doesn't disappear. It becomes a dollar the municipality has to absorb. Waiving or funding these costs is not free. It shifts the costs from the applicant to the municipality and shifts the costs ultimately onto taxpayers or ratepayers. And it can create a precedent for other development people in the town. And I'd like to add one more point from that presentation that is relevant to timing and risk. The presenters indicated that the release of hospice beds occurs at random times. And they also said that they don't really know when construction could begin. I'm not criticizing that. The project's complicated. It has uncertainties. But it makes it even more important that you keep today's planning discussions and decisions clearly separate from any project-specific support discussions. So there is no impression that support considerations are driving a planning outcome. Here's my concern. When you start exploring or signaling project-specific support for an applicant before you decide that applicant's required planning approvals, it creates a real risk of perceived prejudgment. Even if each of you believes you can keep the issue separate, members of the public can reasonably think council is looking into supporting this project, so the planning approvals are essentially decided. That perception matters. Today you are the decision maker on land use amendments. Granted, it's just general public comments. However, the public expects you to approach the hearing open-minded, weigh the planning evidence, decide on merits, good planning, good policy, compatibility, impacts, etc., without any earlier commitments that could reasonably be seen as taking sides. I'm not accusing anyone of any wrongdoing. My point is practical and preventative. The municipality should avoid putting itself in a position where today's OPA, ZBA discussions is later criticized as biased or predetermined because council was already moving towards project-specific support. So my request today is as follows. First, I'm asking you to defer further consideration, discussions, or staff work specifically related to project-specific municipal support for this charity until the OAP and ZBA decisions and any related planning approvals are finalized. Through you, Mayor, if it's procedurally appropriate tonight, would any member of council be willing to make a motion to that effect so the public has clarity on timing and on separating support discussions from planning decisions? Second, if you want to consider supporting community projects financially, whether through grants, reliefs, or other contributions, I'm asking you to direct staff to develop and bring forward a clear, concise framework for these types of requests. That framework should set out transparent criteria, timing, limits, documentation, so that you can treat all petitions for support fairly and consistently, and so the municipality avoids the appearance of prejudgment when planning decisions are still outstanding. This protects not only the integrity of your process, but also the public confidence in your decision. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much. Any questions? Councillor Brannan.
I just want to make a comment. I appreciate that extremely well-reasoned and finely nuanced presentation. I think it is really considerate when individuals attempt to understand sometimes the subtleties of municipal decisions in terms of projects such as this. I personally support the project. I think we need it. I think it'll be fantastic for our community, and it's not a matter of are we going to help support it? It's like how can this council best support this fantastic endeavor? And I understand the motion that you're making, and I hope we can make that for you, but I hope that the community does not misunderstand that when we do something such as this, It does not mean that we do not support the project. It means we're trying to figure out how the project can best be supported.
Thank you. Any comments, questions? Okay, with that, we'll move to the first public meeting. This public meeting is to consider an application for a zoning bylaw amendment to remove the H holding zone for Buchanan Crossings subdivision. Motion to open the public meeting. Councillor Canis, second by the Deputy Mayor. All in favor? Motion carries. Mr. Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of council. This is an application to remove the hold, as you've mentioned, on a subdivision that received that hold in order to ensure that the processing of the subdivision application would be completed. That process has occurred. The subdivision agreement was passed by council and signed, and the registration has occurred, and that all occurred in 2025. They have since made this application to remove the hold, and planning staff are in support of that hold removal application, and a zoning bylaw amendment is placed on this agenda for council's consideration in the bylaws section. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any comments and inquiries by members of the public? Are there any comments and questions from members of council? There is. The motion now is to close the public meeting. Motion to close this public meeting. Councillor Canis, second by the Deputy Mayor. All in favor? Motion carries. There are two decision motions. One, that the application for the removal of the holding zone be approved, and further, the bylaw number 16-26 be referred to the consideration of bylaws section of the agenda for consideration and approval. Someone to bring those two motions. Deputy Mayor, second by Councillor Palmer. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries. Thank you. Second public meeting for the official plan and zoning bylaw amendment for the property located at 7013 Walker's Drive. Excuse me, motion to open the public meeting. Deputy Mayor, second by Councillor Brennan. All in favor? Motion carries. Mr. Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. As you've noted, this is a application for official plan amendment and rezoning on Walker's Drive, on the south side of Walker's Drive, just west of Glen Oak. The purpose of the application is to rezone a section of this larger property, and that section of property is approximately 3 hectares in size, and 3.5 hectares in size, sorry, with 2 hectares of the property currently being used for cropland, and 1.5 hectares of that land being natural heritage. An application has also been filed for consent or severance, but that is being held subject to the official plan and zoning bylaw applications proceeding this evening for the public meeting, and then for an evaluation report to follow. So tonight's process is such that I have provided an information report. It goes through the policies. There has been consultation insofar as the circulation of the applications to agencies and the surrounding neighborhood within 120 meters. We have received a number of comments. Council will have seen that in a separate email, not necessarily on the agenda, but it was because it was received after the agenda was posted. And so those emails and other comments would have been received on Friday by council. I would note that all of these will be a part of the public record and would be included in a follow-up report as part of the public record, as we would normally do. I'm happy to answer any questions about the proposal, about the application. I would note that the Conservation Authority did provide some concerns about the driveway being located within the flood hazard. The applicant has worked with the Conservation Authority, and we received an email just at the end of last week after business hours, just noting in an email that they were generally in support of a changed location of the driveway, basically flipping it to the other side of the stormwater management. However, this has not been something that's circulated and alike, so it was not also circulated to you, just because that would result in multiple site plans being forwarded to you. That'll be something that we will provide at an evaluation report stage. So I'll leave it at that for now. Happy to answer questions.
Yeah,
Oh, sorry, thank you.
before we go to the questions from council, any comments, inquiries by members of the public?
Yeah,
Is there one? Yep.
well, I guess I'll go first.
Yep, stand up and state your name and speak into the microphone. Thanks, Mr. Eric. And just a reminder, you get 5 minutes. Pretty
5
lax,
minutes,
but you
okay.
get 5 minutes.
I should be less than 5.
Okay,
I thought I only had 3, so I'll talk fast. Again, good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, Councilors, staff. Again, my name is Mark Eyre. I live at 6916 Walker's Drive. You can see me on the map. And again, I just want to say I'm not opposed to hospice care, and I respect the intent behind this project. My concern is whether council can approve permanent official planning and zoning changes on this rural agricultural site when key policy tests and constraints are still not demonstrated on the record. I do understand this is just a public comment period. And I have provided a pretty detailed written submission. That's just the way I work. And I want to focus on 3 points that I think are critical in terms of being a bit of a whole in terms of moving forward and getting amendments made. First of all, natural hazards. The record indicates consistency with provincial natural hazard policy has not been demonstrated for the institutional use, and the Conservation Authority recommends deferral pending a plan showing all development outside of the flood hazard. Without that, council cannot proceed to make a defensible decision to approve the OPA or rezone for an institutional hospice. Second, prime agricultural land. Planning staff state the alternative analysis does not meaningfully evaluate settlement area options or lower priority agricultural lands. And they also state the agricultural impact assessment does not follow provincial guidance, including both primary and secondary area analysis. Until these basics are complete, council does not have a solid basis to create a site-specific exception and remove active farmland for a new non-farm institutional use. And available changes over time, availability changes over time. So no other sites is not enough on its own. The record should show due diligence, where searches have been done, what criteria were used, what areas were examined, and where wide service settlement area options are not feasible. That detail is missing on this record, and the staff actually flagged that as a gap. Third, deferral to later stages. Site plans are for details. They cannot cure policy defects or unresolved suitability questions. Council should not grant permanent permissions first and hope hazards, buffers, wildlife impacts, and servicing footprints get resolved later. I also want to put on the record what this means on the ground, in particular for my property. I've had thousands of trees planted. I've worked with the St. Clair Region Conservation Authority to establish wetlands. I've established a managed woodlot, all to support wildlife in the rural setting my family invested in. This area supports turtles, deers, expanding bird activity, turkeys, coyotes, rabbits, to name a few. And I've personally seen how added highlighting reduces wildlife activity. And so does increased traffic, 24/7 operations in this rural context. Impacts do not simply remain within the drawing lines on a piece of paper. I also ask council to consider the impact of having this file outstanding for a long time. Unresolved institutional OPA and ZBA applications put neighboring landowners in planning limbo, which can chill buyers and complicate selling or refinancing decisions. For these reasons that I've submitted previously and for what I've just talked about, and I realize we're just getting comments, my position is that I respectfully ask council to deny and close both OPA 5 and ZBA 25-2025 as filed. If council is not prepared to deny, then I would ask you to please defer this, but only with a clear checklist and firm timeline, starting with demonstrated hazard compliance, a complete alternatives analysis, an agricultural impact assessment, prepared to provincial guidance, and final natural heritage and wildlife determinations before any permanent positions are granted. I was going to close on this, but if I've got another minute, I just want to add one thing.
Another 30 seconds.
Yeah, fair enough, yeah. It appears that, and I don't mean to put words in anybody's mouth in terms of this, but it appears like the charity is relatively new, a year old, a year and a half, whatever. They've gotten land donated, which is excellent, but they've run with it. And rather than taking the time and looking at other things, there is a charitable due diligence. It's donations, it's other people's money, and they have to use that appropriately. They have to provide infrastructure services that could be costly over time, as well as capital, that haven't been looked at in terms of an insight facility in town. So for example, I heard that you, Mayor, were talking with regards to the building at the end of Frank Street there, which is an adult building, et cetera, and that the long-term plan is to keep it. Why couldn't that be looked at as a position where you could look at adding hospice beds? You got a lovely location, you're by the creek, public parking's there, you've got infrastructure and services, and you want to make the investment in that building. That's just one example that yourselves in partnership.
Sorry, time's up, Mr.
Thank you.
If you don't mind, appreciate it. Any other comments from any members of the public? Yeah, there's one there.
I wasn't really prepared to speak, so I have to bear with me.
That's okay, just identify yourselves, so we know who you are.
All right, wonderful. My name's Sean Bunnister and I live at 7167 Walker's Drive. I've been in the area for about 6 years now and I love the area. The reason I'm taking this stand here is not because I'm against the hospice. I guess my concern is more based around my family. This rural zone was established to support farming activities, low density use, and limited traffic flow. Introducing an institution in this area would significantly change the character of the area. With that, I raise the safety concerns. I have young children with between the ages of 18 and 16, so I guess not that young, but they use that road pretty regularly. The increased traffic volume would place substantial strain on the roadways that were designed primarily for agricultural equipment, for the local residents. These roads often lack adequate shoulders, turning lanes, traffic controls, and other lighting infrastructure necessary to safely accommodate higher vehicle counts. Increased congestion, unfamiliar drivers, and event-based traffic surges would elevate the risk of collisions involving farm equipment, pedestrians, and cyclists. Anybody traveling to the hospice is going to be in a state that they need to get there, and we recognize that. We need the hospice to be in our community, and I understand that. But in a limited lighting setting, in an agriculture environment, we're putting a lot of risk to our roadways. Particular concern for me is really around that emotionally charged events. That's the one that really hits near and dear to me. With the high traffic, speed, we already have challenges with the speed there. So I guess from my standpoint, this would be my main reason for opposing the hospice, and for the reason that we attend the community over cancer, we donate to it, and we believe in the hospice 100%. I'm very concerned of it being on Walker's Drive. One, for just the increased traffic with the agriculture, and secondly, with the amount that's going to be pulled from our waterways there. I'm on a well. And if this facility goes in down the road from me and is using up to 50,000 gallons, well, who's gonna pay for my well when I have to re-put it in? I have a couple questions around that one. So thank you, I apologize, I wasn't totally prepared, so thanks very much.
Oh, that's great. Anyone else? Yeah? Well,
Am I allowed to speak?
you are, come up to the
I
microphone.
didn't submit my name and I'm
That's
sorry.
okay, it's an open public meeting.
I don't have my phone with everything. So some of this is emotional. Hi, Mark. I'm Sharon Catrice. As you may know, this property is the Catrice property, now in the hands of my daughter-in-law, Sari Belzicki. You mentioned, and you've brought up some good points, that is a spring-fed well that's there. And we raised our 5 kids there with probably a lot more traffic on that road than you're ever going to see with the population that's going to be there. It's going to be 5 beds. I can assure you there won't be any issue with your water. However, I know there are some concerns about the travel down the road, but you know, those are easily accounted for and fixed. And the other thing too about the lighting, I've just been informed about some beautiful lights that they have now that darken, and so they're not going to affect the area around. And I trust this man, he's an engineer in the field. And as far as the land that's going to be in use, I have to tell you, having worked there in tobacco for 25 years, that the area that's going to be used, there will be possibly 2 acres that might be affected. But the rest of it is, I think it's already been identified. It's not workable land, and it never has been, because I know from hoeing that place. Anyways, that's really all I have to say, but I'm sure hoping that we do have your support for this. It was my son's dream, and it's a beautiful spot. And I believe somebody from council may have been out there to look at it. And if you want to die in peace, what better place than out there by the pond, and with all the forestry around there. And believe me, I can't see how we're going to upset the environment. That's why we want it there, a good, peaceful place for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other comments? Yes, Mr. Saul.
Thank you, I'll be brief. My major concern with this proposed development is that it would be detrimental to our operation at Salthaven Wildlife. At Salthaven, we see over 1,200 patients a year, sick, injured, and orphaned wildlife. A lot of them are endangered and are of special concern, and they need optimum conditions in order to be able to survive the rehabilitation process and take them back. We don't release them on site. We take them back to where they came from. By the way, we're located at 24478 Glen Oak Road, which is in the very vicinity. We're concerned about delivery vehicles, lighting systems. I'm familiar with the lighting systems that were just mentioned. Yes, they do provide a lower amount of direct light, but light reflects as well off the ground, and that's going to be a concern. We have, this season, we had every species of owl, with the exception of great gray owls, that were injured not at Salthaven, but they came to Salthaven to recover. We had an 80% success rate in getting them back into their natural environment. And that's because of the work of volunteers that dedicate their time to this whole process. The light pollution is not the only concern. The sound is of special concern too. We don't only do owls, but this season it was demonstrated the owls have special hearing. They have one ear that points up and out and the other one that points down and out. And their stereo spectrum is incredible. They can hear things literally miles away and pinpoint the sound, in some cases within centimeters, where we can't do that. From me to yourself, Mr. Mayor, If you made a sound, I could pinpoint that within about 3 feet of where the sound came from, but these animals can do it within a couple of centimeters. So any kind of sound at all, in addition to what we're already having to endure, is a detriment to the recovery of these animals. We have spent quite a bit of funds in fortifying their enclosures so that sound is kept to a minimum. But it's hard enough given the traffic that we have there. So that's some of our concerns, and I guess that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Any other comments? Okay, seeing none, I'll now open it up to comments and questions from members of council.
There was a gentleman about to raise his hand.
Oh, was he? Sorry,
If you don't mind. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Gary Field. My wife and I live at 6836 Walker's Drive. Been there approximately 20 years. Mark Ayers probably said all the points that I wanted to cover as well. The one other small issue that I had was there was the sign posted for this meeting and for the application, and that sign was put on Glen Oak Drive, halfway down to the south of Glen Oak and Walker's. And I thought that sign should have been in front of where the proposed acreage was going to be, that we're talking about. So I don't know who put the sign there or why. And if it wasn't for my neighbors informing me of this, I only live like 1,000 feet away from this property, the proposed property, and I wouldn't have known anything about it. So I do question why that sign was put down on Glen Oak instead of on Walker's Drive where it should be. I don't know what the rules are there, but I would assume it should be where the property is. So, other than that, everybody else has already talked about the same issues that I'm concerned about, and that's all I have to say, I guess. Thank you.
Thank you. So just gonna look again. Any other further comments? Oh, there's one.
My name is Jerry Damon, and I just want to address the issue of the signs. I placed the signs on the or outlining where the property was. I placed one sign as directed by staff here on Glen Oak, and I placed another sign on Walker's Drive in front of the place, and I took pictures of where I placed the signs as directed by staff here. So if the signs went missing between when I placed them and when Mr. Fields didn't notice them, that's beyond my control. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? There's. Just ask you to identify yourself for us, okay?
Mr. Mayor, I'm the agent, or representing the agent on the file from SBM. My name is Nick Dijak. I'm a planner, senior planner with them. I've heard a lot of good comments and a lot of good points today, and I've received those in email and in the staff report as well. Just wanted to come and be available for any questions from yourself, and just to provide a little background, I guess, as to a pragmatic approach to our planning application. Prior to making an application, we've been working with the members from the Hospice Foundation too. Over a year has been gone on in consultations with different specialists and engineers and consultants to prepare a design to make sure that it works, and to have considerations for, one, our neighbors, the natural heritage features, natural hazards as well as the rural landscape and interface. I think there's been a lot of work given and consideration and insight to the site plan, the site layout, the design of the application. A number of those impacts have been put into our planning report. However, going forward, we'd be happy to address more specific comments or elaborate further on how we feel this application does meet those policies and meets all the objectives in the various regulations and guidelines. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from the public? With that, I'll now turn it over to council. Any comments or questions from members of council? Councillor Kennis.
Well, just a quick comment. I certainly think this is a wonderful project, and I understand concerns about perhaps where it's being placed. But on the other hand, it's probably the ideal place to place a facility like this because I think we all, when we exit this world, especially in people in those circumstances, would like a quiet, peaceful place to be for their final days. And yeah, so I fully support the project, but I also believe that staff will hold everyone accountable, that all of the rules are followed, and that things will be done the way they're supposed to be done. But I certainly support the project.
Any other comments? Deputy Mayor McGuire.
Excuse me. Thank you, Your Worship. I am similar to Councillor Kennis. It's a great project. I'd love to see it in the community. But I come from a legislative background. And the location concerns me because it is in prime agricultural land. And for my term on council and the 4 years prior to that with the Committee of Adjustment, we've repeatedly been told that prime agricultural land must be maintained and we shouldn't be taking anything else out into those areas. And I'm looking at the report, and you start with the PPS, the provincial policy statement. Mr. Williams has outlined it, great, and he talks about all the sections, and in section 4.3.5, the PPS addresses non-agricultural uses in prime agricultural land, and that they are not to be permitted. And it goes on in that same paragraph about what is permitted, but what is permitted is the extraction of minerals, petroleum resources, mineral aggregates, or limited non-residential uses, provided that all the following are demonstrated. And there's a whole list of things that need to be demonstrated, none of which I see in this report. We also talk about the county official plan. Of course, we have to follow that. And it states that non-agricultural uses are discouraged in prime agricultural land. It also says we must be compliant with the PPS. And then when we go down to our own official plan, and specifically when we talk about the new amendment OPA 14, and I'm now referencing on page 6 for anybody reading the report, and it says that section 4.1 is the vision for the rural area of the municipality, and it's to preserve and protect prime agricultural land to sustain the agricultural industry and promote local food production, and to maintain agriculture as the predominant use of the land. The report goes on, and I have it highlighted in many areas, Your Worship, but I'm not seeing a path forward where we would be allowed to make the use of the land for the hospice. And I guess what I'm posing is a potential question. He may not want to answer it tonight, but the potential question would go to Mr. Williams. I'm not seeing that pathway forward. I'm sure it's front and foremost on your mind, but should this return to us for an actual decision making, I need to see that exact pathway forward, because we're changing, and you know exactly what I'm getting at. You're shaking your head, but for everybody listening, prime agricultural land, we are not allowed to put other things out in agricultural land. And those are the rules we're governed by from the province and the county and our own official plan.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Yeah, go ahead, Councillor Wilsey, then I'll get mine in.
This question is more just looking at, along the same lines as the Deputy Mayor's, is when you're looking at residential and for building houses, the official plan has now said that we can build houses, additional houses on agricultural land, as long as they're clustered, and they're all within so many feet or meters of each other, and it specifically prohibits ones that are like on opposite corners of the property, which is kind of what this goes. So I guess my question would be, if this were to be clustered, they're looking at a different location, maybe not this location, it was moved over like right next door to the house and some of the same residential ones. I realize it's institutional, but I'd have to ask that question, and then if there's a precedent for institutional land being put in agricultural land anywhere else in the province. And if I could pose that to Mr. Williams.
Mr. Dijak sort of mentioned quickly about some of the work that he has done with the consultants and with the hospice, but they have also been in touch with us about a variety of different scenarios and options throughout the process. One of the things that makes this specifically a little bit more tricky from a policy perspective is that they're looking to have it as a separate parcel. So it's not a part of the agricultural parcel any longer. So what ends up happening is, you know, we were exploring things like on-farm diversified uses, say for example, which allow for 2%. We looked at things like, could we consider this somehow a residential use, and then it'd be sort of associated with the existing home, and then we would be looking at maybe a distance apart from the home. But it's, again, not going to be on or operated by the same people. So many of those policies, you end up not being able to find the end goal that you're looking for because you bump into a different policy problem. The reality is that this is prime agricultural land that's being considered for this proposal, and it does make it difficult for planning staff to come up with a solution. But we continue to work with the applicants to try to reduce their policy concerns as they go forward, and we will bring forward an opinion at the next council meeting. So that's kind of answering the deputy mayor's thing, because not everybody could see me nodding my head. Yes, there is policy questions here, so I wanted to just say that out loud because there are people that are watching. But to answer your question, there are a number of different scenarios, and certainly you raising this one, we can have a conversation with the applicants about what that might look like.
Thank you. Just the process is this, correct, Mr. Williams? You're going to take all the comments from the public, the comments from council, and they'll be put in the report. I believe the applicant, their planner, may work with the public to try to allay some of their fears. Is that correct? I have the process down before it comes back to council for any kind of final approval.
Correct. There's a situation now where we'll look at solutions-based planning. We will have conversations that are about this particular site, this particular proposal, a different scenario, a different site. We'll talk it all through again before then recompiling it all and getting it to an evaluation stage. That would mean talking with neighbors. That will mean talking with the applicants, talking with us, us understanding more additional information from any of their consultants that have been raised. All of those questions that have come out, we'll look to have answers to before we come back to council.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Derbyshire.
Thanks. Just because you asked that question, when we see it next time, what are we approving or denying? Or are we just then going forward with what amendments need to be made for it to be approved? I just am wondering what stage we're at where, I'm going to say it, I just don't want to kind of get caught like McDonald's, where this was our opportunity to do one thing or the other, and then the next time we see it, we're past our point of doing anything here. If we're just sitting complacent, and this is the point where we either should say, yes, we'd like to see it go forward, or no, we don't. That's, I guess, my question.
Manager Willie.
Thank you. This is the time to provide the comments or concerns that you might have with the application, or if you're satisfied with the application as it stands, let us know. That's helpful. Any information about what you would want to see the development, if you wanted to see it differently, that's the time. This is the time to tell us. And if you were to tell us this is perfect, then we would also take that in and be aware of it.
Councilor Derbyshire.
Just one more. So the next time we see it, it won't say that council approved this with these amendments. I guess that's what I'm asking, because at that point I feel like if we then go against it, we now are fighting our own staff and the OLT and that portion. I guess that's what I'm asking. Are we at that stage where we need to decide whether we want to go with it or not go with it? Because the next time it comes back, and if whatever decision staff has made, if we go against it, then we're going to the OLT.
Mr. Williams.
Sure. Yes, the OLT is a part of the story. So right now, this is information. The next time it comes forward, you will have a planning recommendation, a recommendation from staff, from myself, and the rest of municipal staff. And you will then make a decision with the implementing documents, that the official plan amendment and the zoning bylaw amendment at that meeting. And if you decided to go outside of what I am recommending, there's a number of different scenarios, right? So if I were to recommend approval and you were to approve it as well, that's one direction. If I were to recommend denial and you were to approve it, and when I say you, I mean council, sorry, I am answering your question and looking straight at you, but if council were to make that decision to approve it, even though I recommended denial, someone would have to appeal it. That would be either the applicants or some other approved body. So there's a limited group of approved bodies that could appeal it. So at that point, then we would go down a number of different scenarios, and the decision tree is wild. But yes, it would mean you would have to look for a different planner to support that application in the scenario where I have recommended refusal and you approve it. If it goes a different way, that's...
Okay. You have a quick one, Councilor?
I was just going to say, so if you deny tonight, just asking, if you deny tonight, it's just done? Or there's still an appeal process by that, or how does that work tonight?
If the application a decision was made tonight by council to deny the application, you would also need to provide reasons for the denial in the motion. I'm not saying you're going that direction, but I just want to put that out there. You would put those reasons. You may seek some of those reasons from the report that I've written. However, I haven't put any recommendations as to how to do that. Nonetheless, that's what you could do this evening. That's what you're looking for.
Councilor Palmer.
There's been several comments made in the report about this being prime agricultural land, but I haven't seen anything in the report that would talk to the impact of that prime agricultural land or the agricultural land around it, either now or in the future. And I'm interested to know, because I'm not a farmer, what might be the potential impact to surrounding agricultural lands if this were to go forth, either now or in the future. Does that make sense?
Well, I'm not sure that I can answer all of the different agricultural impacts of it, but certainly we've talked a few of those this evening with regards to how sanitary would be handled, well, water, additional traffic, those sorts of things. Beyond the actual removal of the farmland, the impact on the adjacent properties, This is an institutional use on the property. It would qualify as something that would need to be separated distance-wise for an MDS perspective. So additional future barns, I'm not sure. We'd have to look at it to try to figure out if there is any potential restriction that would result from this, or if there's already enough homes in the area that it wouldn't make a difference because you already have these other homes. But that would be something else that we would look at.
Did you have a follow-up, Councillor Kramer?
No, that's okay for now.
Councillor Derbyshire, then we'll close the meeting.
Thank you. Can I just, I'd like to make a motion that we use an alternative recommendation of number 1.
Yeah. I just interject, we have to close the public meeting first, Councillor, then you can bring, we have to close it, then you can bring a motion.
I was just reading the report where it was in it, and you could make this motion. So.
Yeah, but just need, let me, okay, then just let me close the public meeting first, then you can bring your motion. Councillor Brennan.
Just a comment before we close, and I guess this is for the public audience. There are 2 issues at stake here. One was raised earlier, would council be willing to, waive certain fees in support of this project? And we sent that back to staff for a report, and it seemed like, we were willing to entertain the idea that that's an option. The other issue is before us tonight is where would the hospice be? And I think we can all say that yes, our community needs a hospice. And I think council is entertaining the idea through staff of ways that we can support it financially by waiving certain fees. But the issue here tonight is separate. This is about zoning and a suggested location for the hospice. So where will it be is the question, I think, tonight, as opposed to how can we help. So I don't want people to think that the zoning thing means that we're against having a hospice in our community. That's not the issue. And I know we all realize that. I just want to state that out loud so that no one confuses the two. Thank you.
Councillor Wilsey.
Just quickly, I wanted to just point out that there are things with being in the agricultural that may not be the best area with this location. Just living in the country myself, there's manure that spreads spring and fall. If you're talking about being a beautiful area in the country, like there's a couple weeks where you get that. There's combines, there's loud machinery, there's all sorts of things that, and there are just certain times of the year, but there's machinery running, there's tractors running. There's all sorts of different things. It's not peaceful with nothing going on 365 days of the year, and just make sure that everyone realizes that as well. There's impacts that the agricultural land will have on this as well, which may not make it as peaceful as everyone talks about all year.
I'm sorry, Mr. Damon, I apologize. We closed the public meeting, so I apologize.
We got a chance after. That was my understanding, is that we got a chance after.
Just ask for 2 minutes.
I just want 2 minutes.
Yeah, I apologize. We closed it. Just let me. Okay. Go ahead. Thanks.
Sorry, that's my fault. I thought we got another wraparound. My name's Tyler Damon. I'm the chair of Strathroy Hospice. Mr. Mayor, Deputy Mayor, members of council, thank you sincerely for taking the time to hear this proposal, and thank you to SBM and Tim Williams for all your thoughtful and thorough work that you put into this process. I want to assure you all that our board has conducted extensive due diligence on all the potential locations. This isn't just a year in the making, this is many years in the making. After careful review, we are confident that the donated land, along with the associated servicing costs, is not only the most responsible financial option, but is the best opportunity to create the most beautiful, peaceful setting for our community. I understand that the question naturally arises, why not build in an urban boundary of Strathroy, where services already exist, where zoning might already align, and where the process might appear simpler? The answer is we could, but it's not special, and it wouldn't likely be less expensive in the long run. We are a rural community, whether it be in a town, on a concession, on a neighboring First Nation community, or a nearby village. A drop hospice care isn't just for the residents of Strathroy, it's for the county, the broader county. Our community values space, peace, and connection to nature. When families are facing the most difficult days of their lives, I believe we should choose a place that we can look out to, a pond, trees, wildlife, open sky, not another parking lot, another building, or a drive-through. Yes, there's manure, but like the town's loud too. It's a place. I believe that building in a rural adjacent setting requires more work and the servicing considerations and zoning questions, but I firmly believe that the juice is worth the squeeze. If we're gonna do all this, let's do it in a way that reflects who we are as a community and what we value. For 15 years as a fundraiser and a community leader, I've always said that Strathroy-Caradoc is special. And it's special because of its people. We deserve special things, including how we care for one another at the end of life. There are two certainties in life, being born and how we die. And when death is approaching, families deserve the dignity to stay close to home in a setting that feels warm, intimate, and compassionate. Currently, our region has identified a need for 38 hospice beds. We have 0. There isn't even a waiting list for us to get on. Families must search all over, from London to Sarnia, Chatham, Exeter, to find one. Our vision is just a small 5-bed hospice in a home-like setting. It's like a home, designated to look and feel like a large residence, not an institution. It'll be serene, set back from the road, ideally located between basically Strathroy and Mount Bridges, minutes from all our neighboring communities. It will not feel busy, it will not feel clinical. It will feel peaceful, it will feel dignified. Community support is strong. We have letters and petitions also of nearby residents that plan, and in this past year alone, this is the year we're basing on, we have raised $1.4 million towards the project. That demonstrates belief and commitment. If government allocates and aligns, fundraising continues the way it has, we could anticipate having an 18-month build, and in an ideal situation, we could be operational in 2 years. I'll close with this. There is no soft opening for a hospice. It's the very first person that walks into our doors is in the most vulnerable position of their life, and so is their family members. It has to be right and it has to be perfect. We are not taking this lightly. We are not choosing this position or this spot willy-nilly because the land was donated. We have spent so many hours, countless hours, looking at everything and trying to figure out what's best. And it always feels daunting. It's like these guys at the top of the Olympic ski jump. For the first time, we want to make this right, and we want to make it perfect. And with the support of council in this community, we will take that leap and we will land it. Thank you.
Comments? Okay, motion to close the public meeting. Councillor Palmer, second by Councillor Kennis, all in favor, motion carried. Councillor Derbyshire, I believe you did want to make a motion.
Yes, I'd like to make the motion that we do the alternative recommendation of number 1.
Could you indulge me and read that, because I don't have it in front of me, Councillor?
Oh, I'm gonna say this word. It is the subject report BB 26016 for OAP 5-0 or 2025 and ZB 250-25 be received for information, and that the application for the zoning amendment be deferred. I'm gonna say Cindy or Sendai or Sanidai. There you go. Thank you. Whatever that word is.
Before we go though, again, I ask Mr. Williams, can you define the phrase, what the phrase means for everyone?
Sine die means without a specific date to return.
Thank you. Seconder for your motion. Okay. Councillor Wilsey. Are there any questions or comments? Yeah, Councillor Derbyshire.
The reason I'm doing this is because it's not an outward rejection, but it is time to process and figure out exactly what's going on here and to not lead with our hearts. I understand this is a great project that needs to be done. But to keep saying like we need it to be in the agricultural setting because, you know, this is the nicest place and we want to be here and we want to be there. I want to build houses for my kids in the country too, but that doesn't let us do it. So you're now going to ask me to completely change this, and you want it severed. Like, we have a hard enough time severing anything, and yet we just want to completely change all the rules and set a precedent that we might not know what we're opening up without actually thoroughly looking this over and reviewing it completely. So this gives us the time to do what we need to do.
Any question? Councillor Brennan.
If we were to vote for this or not vote for this, through the chair to the manager, would the work that you were going to do take place anyway in terms of going through the list of all the different things that need to be looked at and talking to stakeholders and the Conservation Authority and everything like that? In other words, the report that we would eventually see would still be in the tube, it would still be being processed and would eventually come to us at some point in the future. Is that correct?
Through the mayor, I think the answer is yes, that's one of the scenarios that could happen. It's possible that I'm apologies, but so I'm cautious about suggesting additional wording, but if that was actually what you were wanting to have happen, maybe additional phrase that was somewhere along the lines of, and that the applicant continue to work with staff.
Councillor Brennan.
That would be my wish. I just don't want this motion to end the process. And I want to make sure that if we do vote for this and defer it to a day as yet to be named, okay, extend the timelines, that we don't stop the process. So wording such as the manager just suggested that would say that we're not asking this to come back right away. We want the work to continue, but signed day, the idea that it's going to be at some time in the future is yet not determined, and at some point we can ask for that report to come back to us. But I want there to be a report. I just don't want the process to stop and there not to be a report. That would be my suggestion. So I guess a friendly amendment to the motion would be wording such as the manager just indicated, those couple of words. And I don't know if the clerk caught them. She did. Thank you very much. Very astute of you. By the way.
Are you okay with that friendly amendment, Councillor?
I'm okay as long as it's information and it doesn't come back as a recommendation that this or this happens, because I don't want to put us against that wall. So if we're getting information back, I'm good with that. But if not, so as long as it's not coming back as this is what we recommend and this is us moving forward, where if we don't decide we want to do it there, we're then going to the OLT, I would be okay with that. So if we're just going to get more information and clarification on what we're doing is right, wrong, or indifferent, I'm good with that.
Councillor Wilsey, second, are you okay with the friendly amendment?
I'm good with that as well. I think the reason I seconded is I wanted to hear the discussion, and I think we need more information before we can make a decision about this location.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Councillor Kennis.
Well, my question is why are we voting for the recommended motion that was put in front of us? Because that's basically what it says.
So, and I had the same question. If you could clarify for me the difference between the motion brought by Councillor Derbyshire, which has a sin die in it, and the motion that's in front of us just to receive for information.
So based on the conversation that's been had, normally we would bring back as soon as possible an evaluation report to council. What we're hearing here, what I'm hearing here from the discussion is that we would come back with a further information report with many of the details and questions that have been asked, additional information supporting them. And rather than a recommendation report that provides my recommendation.
So that's
that
the
would be
difference
between the two.
The motion by Councillor Derbyshire is definitely coming back for information. Again, there's a possibility that we're to receive this report for information, the next report could have a recommendation on it, am I correct? That's kind of the difference between the two?
So we'd end up with 3 reports for
Okay,
this one.
thank you. Deputy Mayor.
You'll appreciate my comments, Your Worship, but I think you have a procedural matter that I want to raise with the clerk. If you look at our motions under the procedures bylaw, we do not have a motion to defer sine die. We have a motion to defer under section 10.43 that says within the motion, it must have a future date attached to it. It also goes on to say that, I guess that's it. What I was going to say also is that your motion most resembles to table a motion, which is setting it down to be debated later, and that no date needs to be given. However, if that doesn't come back in front of council during the term of council, the motion's withdrawn, and this dies on the floor. So, with that being said, although I understand fully what Councillor Derbyshire is bringing forth, and I would have voted for it until I read the definitions of the motions in our procedures bylaw, we may be better to stay with the original motion.
So then you're getting a recommendation.
Just a question, I'm gonna help.
We're gonna get that sooner or later anyways.
Is it possible to ask just for the next, just to report, not have a recommendation? To receive for information. I know where you're going, Councilor Derbyshire, trying to get you there.
Why is that option
Yeah. Councilor Derbyshire.
I get it, I just picked.
Pick
Well,
that
it was
one.
like it's not like I dreamed it up and thought, oh, here's what we'll do. I'll make up some weird word I can't pronounce and say council. So it's here. What I was trying to do was not get it to a point where we have to pick a side yet without all the information being presented. I think that's doing our due diligence, but maybe I'm wrong.
I think the clerk has a solution.
Thank you. My recommendation would be just to receive this report for information, and you can make the additional motion that staff come back with an additional informational report.
Yeah. That's it. Councilor Palmer.
But then that wouldn't stop the next time Mr. Williams come back, would be with recommendations. And I think that's what the intent is.
I think what the clerk said, specifically put it in the motion to receive that the next report just be information only.
You're seeking more
Just be for
information.
information only. I think that idea, Councilor Derbyshire, gets you to where you want to go. If you could ask, you pull your motion back and go with the one that the clerk has suggested. It gets you there same way.
So we receive this for information.
Yes,
And then we will have another meeting about this for information
just for information.
with no recommendations.
I think that's what you're trying to accomplish, right? You don't want any recommendation.
Yeah, I just don't want to pit us against, I mean, we've played the OLT game a bunch of times, or OL.
Yep.
Yeah, OLT.
So with that, will you?
As long as that, we're crystal clear on this. I don't want next meeting to be like, well, they put recommendations, we didn't understand, because I played that game too, and I don't want to play that either.
Okay, are you okay with that? Because we got Director of Planning sitting here also. Can I withdraw your motion and we'll go with the motion from the clerk?
Yeah.
Are you okay with that, Councillor Wilsey?
I would like to hear from Manager Williams, see if he's all right with that motion, just because it is different than what he's put on his report. So Manager Williams, would you be okay with this, or would you like us to use the language that you included, which I'm guessing is from a provincial document, which means it would override our bylaws and we could use it anyways?
Through the mayor, the on the floor motion about a second information report is totally fine. I'm happy. I can make that work. I understand where you're coming from, and I can read between the lines as well. I understand it wouldn't have a recommendation as we have here, but I will potentially have in the section dealing with consultation, some additional information about my position on the application to assist you as you're making your review of it and your analysis, and then we can move. At that time, we'll cross the next bridge, but the idea would be a third report would have a recommendation from myself.
Okay, do you want to read the recommendation or just reiterate it for me? Then we get somebody to bring it.
So the recommendation is that report BBP 2026-16 regarding official plan amendment OPA 5-2025 and rezoning application ZBA 25-25 be received by council for information, and that staff come back with an informational report.
Someone want to bring that motion? Deputy Mayor, second by Councillor Wilsey. Any further discussion? Councillor Kennis.
I just want to make a comment. I think, like everyone, I think the group that is bringing this all forward deserves prompt attention from everyone involved, and they deserve an answer one way or the other as quickly as is humanly possible, like we should for everyone. So that's it.
Yep. Okay. Yep.
I get we want it prompt, but we have to do our due diligence, which is what this is about. It's not about speed. Everybody wants the hospice.
Yep, that's fair.
A rebuttal to that, 100% I agree. That my first comment is that we need to follow the rules, but we don't need to stall things either. So.
Okay, thank you. Okay, all in favor of the motion? Opposed, if any, the motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, folks in the gallery. Thank you for your patience. Really appreciate it. Okay. Public meeting number 3. The purpose of this public meeting is to consider application for official plan and zoning bylaw amendment for the property located at 8319 Glengyle Drive. Someone bring the motion and I'll let the crowd disperse. Deputy Mayor, second by Councillor Wilsey. All in favor? Motion carries. We'll let everyone leave. Okay, Mr. Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. As you noted, this is a public meeting for a property on the south side of Glengyle, just outside of the settlement boundary of Strathroy in the southeast area. It's bounded, the property itself is bound by Glengyle to the north and the CN Rail to the south. This is a property where they're looking for a rezoning of only a portion of that property, not the entire property, and the existing operations, livestock operations, would continue on the property, as well as the crop production that occurs on the property. There, to the east portion of the property, there's an existing operation, aggregate, sort of crushing and alike, that has Ministry of Environment approval to do so, but it isn't recognized in the zoning. The zoning, the development area that's proposed is rectangular in nature. It's about 4 hectares in size. It has frontage on Glengyle. It was formerly used as an agriculturally related use. It was a grain elevator and alike. They did a bit more than that there as well. The area has a natural fence around it versus the remaining cropland. The policies for this particular property are noted within the document, within the report. I would note that we received a comment after hours this evening from one of the adjacent landowners and their, well, in fact, their agent, And I understand they may be available for comment this evening. This was sent to you probably around 5 o'clock today. Otherwise, there were no other comments received since the report was finalized. I'm available to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Tim. Any questions for any members of the public? Identify yourself.
Yes. Good evening, staff and members of council. My name is Caitlin Crowley, Associate Planner with Zelinka Priamo at 318 Wellington Road in London. I am here in attendance as the planning consultant for Southside Group, who own an approximately 26-hectare parcel of undeveloped lands located directly opposite to the north of the property subject to these applications. We have received the materials submitted for these applications and primarily have concerns about potential land use compatibility issues arising from the proposed development. There appears to be a lack of analysis when considering the potential impacts of the proposed development on all surrounding land uses or on all surrounding properties. Through the current official plan review process, a number of surrounding properties, including the Southside lands, which I outlined in the letter submitted after hours, have been identified as candidate sites endorsed by council for inclusion within the urban settlement boundary. These sites, if included, have the potential to be redeveloped for future residential and sensitive land uses. Based on our preliminary review, these candidate sites have not been assessed through the land use compatibility reports completed for these applications. It is our understanding that the peer reviews of some of the key technical reports are still outstanding, and I understand that no decision is being made this evening, and just wanted to note that any decision of these applications would be premature until said reviews have been completed. We would also respectfully reserve the opportunity to provide further comments once those peer reviews are complete. Southside has concerns that the necessary information and analysis has not been provided to confirm that the proposed use through these applications would operate as an agricultural related use. It appears that the proposed use could operate as an extension to the existing abutting aggregate processing facility. It is our understanding that the municipality's current policy position, as Tim noted, is that new commercial uses or industrial uses will not be permitted outside of urban settlement areas, except in accordance with the policies of the agricultural related uses. There should be additional information provided in these applications to that effect. Thank you for the opportunity to provide comments tonight, and we look forward to continued participation in this application process, as we would like to ensure that there is proper consideration for land use compatibility surrounding the proposal in order to protect both existing and planned sensitive land uses.
Thank you. Any other comments from members of the public? Just ask you to identify yourself for it.
Certainly. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. My name is Scott Allen. I'm with MHBC Planning. We're acting on behalf of the applicant. We have had the opportunity to read Mr. Williams' report and also to hear the comments provided by Zelinka Priamo's consultant, or the Southside consultant, I should say. Just to clarify that, yes, we understand that the studies have been carried out. The specialized studies have not been peer reviewed. They were carried out, and we certainly will work with the peer reviewer to ensure that they adequately address any potential land use conflict considerations with existing or future development in the area. I just wanted to make sure that point was clear. And I also wanted to indicate that, yes, we are responding to comments from Mr. Williams in his report about the applicability of various planning policies, particularly I believe it's OPA 14, and how that applies to this particular application. Thank you. We'll gladly answer any questions council has.
Any other comments from the public? Are there any comments or questions from members of council? Seeing none, motion to close the public meeting. Councillor Kennis, second by Councillor Brennan. All in favor? Motion carries. The motion in front of you is that the report regarding official plan amendment OPA 4-2026 and rezoning application ZBA 20-2025 be received by council for information. Someone to bring the motion. Councillor Wilsey, second by Councillor Kennis. All in favor? That motion carries. The last public meeting is public meeting to consider an application for zoning bylaw amendment for the property located at 115-145 LaFave Road, Strathroy, be hereby open. Someone bring, Councillor Caddis, second by the Deputy Mayor. All in favor? Motion carries. Mr. Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. This is an application on the east side of LaFave, just south of it's been one of those nights, I think. Sorry. Wright Street. I kept wanting to say Walker, and I knew that was the wrong application. Sorry. This is a site that has a industrial zoning on it. It's industrially designated. It does not allow for an asphalt, concrete, or ready mix batching plant, which is being requested this evening. The application of this particular use would normally be found in the heavier industrial zone category, the M3. What we have here this evening is a proposal for a concrete batching plant that is primarily indoors. So when this use was considered a while back, when this use was defined, it was one where it would be primarily an outdoor operation. So this operation will have piles, aggregate piles outside, but then the majority of the operation occurs within inside of a building. They would back the concrete trucks up to the entrance, and the loading would occur indoors, but the front of the vehicles are actually outside of the building. The report itself goes into all of the details. There are two standards that are also being requested for amendment, and they relate to the fact that there's a washing bay out in front of the building, and this is just simply because they wanted to be close to where their trucks would be located. Trucks won't generally go behind the building, and so they want to keep this stuff out front. It will be screened during the planning site plan process. We will look at vegetation and the like, but for the most part, it's going to appear as though it's just another building on this industrial property. The other thing is that loading spaces are not to be located in the front of the building. This is designed to have, again, shortest distance of travel for all of the concrete trucks that will enter the site, load, and then head off to other locations. So the report is in front of you. We're recommending approval as it meets our policy and direction. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments or inquiries by members of the public? Any comments and inquiries by members of council? Okay. Seeing none, and a motion to close the public meeting. Deputy Mayor, second by Councillor Derbyshire. All in favor? Motion carries. There are two motions. The application for the zoning bylaw amendment be approved, and further the bylaw number 17-26 be referred to the consideration of bylaws section of the agenda for consideration and approval. So I'm going to bring Deputy Mayor, second by Councillor Caddis. All in favor? Councillor Derbyshire. Yep. Sorry, I just got to ask.
No, I seconded it.
Yeah. We're okay, thank you. And Mr. Williams, thank you for all your work tonight. You had a heavy load there, so it's appreciated. We'll move on to minutes. There are 2 minutes to be approved. The one from the special council meeting of February 11th and the regular council meeting of February 17th. Motion to approve those minutes. Councillor Caddis, second by Councillor Brand. All in favor? Motion carries. The consent agenda, there are a number of items right off the top. I will ask that 7.11 be pulled for further discussion. Are there any others? Councillor Wilsey.
7.2.2.
Okay. Deputy Mayor.
7.2.3.
Okay. Any others? With that, then I'm gonna bring a motion that 7.1.2, 7.2.1, 7.3.1, 7.3.2, and 7.3.3 be approved for Councillor Canada, second by the Deputy Mayor. All in favor, motion carries. I'll start with 7.11, request from Rocking Wheel. You did see the email that Kenny Allora did reach out, and he asked if the municipality could help in any way. I did tell him it has to come in front of council, so I don't know, familiar with Rocking Wheel. Go ahead, Deputy Mayor, sorry.
Thank you. I honestly believe that Rocking Wheel has become a fixture in Mount Bridges and is as important to Mount Bridges and Caradoc Township as the Hometown Festival is to Strathroy. And for those reasons, I'm going to ask the director, or actually our interim CAO, pardon me, is there any pool of funding available that we could facilitate this request? I'm looking, I'll put a figure out there, $5,000.
Thank you. Through the chair to Deputy Mayor, the community events program has been almost fully spent this year. However, the Hometown Festival requested $20,000 this year because they had anticipated taking over operation of Ribfest. They're no longer going to enter into that idea. So there is a motion from Hometown Festival at one of their meetings to return $5,000 back to the municipality. So that would provide the funding to Rocking Wheel should you make a motion for $5,000 this evening.
Deputy Mayor.
I'll make a motion that we use the $5,000 in the program.
Community events program.
Thank you. Community events program to, what is this going to be, a grant?
It is a grant program, yes.
Yeah, so as a grant towards Rocking Wheel 2026.
Thank you. Councillor Wilsey.
I'm willing to second that. I just wanted to ask if we could add to that, we make a request that the recipient apply through the community events program in the regular fashion for future years.
Yep. Good. Yeah, Councillor Palmer.
Yeah, my question is why didn't this come to CDAC? Because CDAC has a process, an application. We require documentation from all the other organizations across the municipality that want funds for their events. And so I feel like we're kind of sidestepping the process here, and I'd rather have them think it would be more appropriate that if they need funds, they complete the application as everybody else does, and it comes to CDAC, and we then decide whether or not they meet the criteria. So I wouldn't be supporting it here at this table.
Go ahead, and I can maybe answer the genesis.
I'd like to amend my motion.
Yep.
That upon a proper application to CDAC and with the recommendation of CDAC to council, that we would then approve any amount of money allotted through CDAC.
Okay, Councillor Wilsey's okay with that. And the genesis of it was, I just forwarded it on to council. He called me and I just forwarded it on to council. Okay, so you have a second motion. All in favor of the motion? Opposed, if any? Councillor Derbyshire.
I did have a question. Is CDAC open to seeing it, or is it gonna get told it has to be in the next thing?
Through the chair to Councillor Derbyshire, because there is a motion this evening from council, CDAC will review the application. If this was to come directly to CDAC, we would have bumped it to council for direction because the application time is closed, but it would have been jumped to council to send it back to us anyway.
So my only thing would be is, are we setting a precedent then that if you have a problem, you just come to council and we'll bump it back to CDAC, whereas the original motion, I believe, was to give them the 5 for this year and make them apply next year to the proper thing, which then just squarely puts it here on council. We're not sending it back down to another place to make a decision until it is actually part of the process.
Unfortunately, we already voted, but I'll ask interim CAO to comment.
Through the chair to Councillor Derbyshire, that's typically what has happened in the past, and if council can recall when Almost Canada Day came forward outside of the time period of applications for the community events program, council granted them, I believe it was $9,000 at the time. So we have done it both ways now.
Fair enough. The motion carried. We'll go through CDAC. Councillor Wilsey, you wanted to talk about the rural tree maintenance program.
Yes, I'm glad to see this came back and in time that now that the winter we can start doing some tree maintenance. One of the things I wanted to look at is what brought this is just a reminder to council that we've had a number of windstorms over the last couple of years which have taken down trees. And I think the last one we had, our fire department was actually out in addition to the public works for I don't know if it was more than a day, but I know it was at least a day out clearing trees and just cutting chainsaws, and then there was weeks of work from our public service, or our public works department to clean that up. So with that being said, I'd like to see some discussion, but at the end, I think what I would like to see is a combination of these options where I'll let the discussion happen first before I propose one. But my preferred option would be that we get rid of the high-risk trees this year, and then over the next 4 years, get rid of all the medium-risk trees, so that within 5 years, we spread it out, but then we don't have to take our emergency services away with roads blocked. And because if this happened in the winter and there was snow and we couldn't get to the trees, we could be weeks without, maybe not weeks, but we'd be a very long time without access to roads.
No, and I just got a comment before you do. You just mentioned Councillor Derbyshire. Drive down Christina Road, it happens to be the worst offender for limbs now. Councillor Derbyshire.
Thank you. I'll just make a motion to get it on the table. It's very similar to what yours was. My motion would be that we do option 2, which is to do all the high-risk trees over a 3-year period. And as we approach the end of that 3-year period, we reevaluate. We have staff reevaluate the trees that are on the moderate risk, and then we continue forward with the program, because I'm sure by that point some of the moderate will probably move to high risk. So that way we're not committing to the whole 10-year medium risk process. We will reevaluate in 3 years once we get done with the high risk right now. So my option would be number 2, with staff coming back at the end of 3 years with another high risk list.
Can I second that with a question? I want to second that. Director Dakin, how are we going to pay? Remind me of the cost, because I don't have it in front of me, someone, and how are we going to pay for it?
$65,000.
Yeah.
Through the chair to the chair, my understanding is this was not in the 23 or 26 budget, so I'm not sure. I'll go turn to the Director of Public Works if it was included, but my understanding is it wasn't.
Through the chair, yeah, correct. This is not included as a line item in the 2026 budget, so this would be an unfunded level of service improvement. It's $65,000 a year for 3 years, estimated to get the high-risk trees out of the way, and then we would reassess at the end of 3 years.
Yeah, Councillor Derbyshire, then Councillor Palmer.
Sorry, I do believe that we do have a fund to take care of nuisance trees. It is a reactive, not a proactive, but I believe that's somewhere around 90 to 100,000 a year. So I believe if we take the 65 out of that, I don't know how much of that we spend every year, but if we take 65 out of that, that would still leave us roughly 30 to 35,000 for reactive throughout the season. But we probably would have less reactive if we're taking out the high-risk trees.
Director Ortiz.
Yeah, through the chair, I think we typically use a good portion of our tree removal budget in the year. I would expect that we would approach that $95,000 limit towards the end of the year. It depends on storms, of course, and the environment, but If we're allocating that to a proactive approach, it's reasonable to expect that we would be in a position where we'd need more money by the end of the year.
Councillor Palmer.
Yeah, I would be okay with using it says here in the report, there's $95,000 in the Public Works tree maintenance operating budget, using that towards the $65,000, and if we have a situation where you need more funds at that time, you could come back to council and ask for more funds. But I think in the present time, we have the funds to start the program. Okay. We might not have much wins and maybe not have.
Thank you. Any further questions? Councillor Kennis.
Well, this would be a 3-year program. I assume that for 2027 and 2028, it would be in the budget moving forward, and this is really a 1-year thing at this point.
Yes. Any further questions? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion. Opposed, nay. The motion carries. Thanks, Councillor Wilsey. Deputy Mayor, outstanding motions.
Thank you. I got a few of them to talk about here. The first one, we'll call it number 1 because it is number 1. Sorry, we'll call it number 1 because it is number 1. That's in regards to the repayment of money from Strathroy-Caradoc housing that is owed to the municipality. Of course, everybody sitting around this table are corporate members of that and are aware that the board of directors will be bringing forward a report once we get all of our numbers from the people that we need to get them from about what money we actually are going to hold from the recoverment of any HST that's owed to us. Of course, we did just get the $360,000 released from the lawyer's holdback. So that's going to occur, whether you want to remove it now. I would say I'd like to start seeing this list go down to 0 because I don't think we should have 2-year-old motions outstanding. So one motion would be that we remove that. It is going to occur, and in fact, you can make it occur because you're all corporate members. Item number 3, the Darcy Drive. This one concerns me. August 12th, 2024, I made a motion seconded by Councillor Wilsey. This was quite a discussion we were having at that point in time about the copper wire on Darcy Drive. We had some concerns up there. The motion was specific, and I'm not sure why this isn't occurring, and somehow I would like that report completed quickly. I see that it's in process or progress, but I'd like to see that completed quickly. I'm hoping that that carries a little bit of weight as opposed to having to put a motion in place directing the CAO to move that forward. Item number 5, downtown beautification. This is another one that concerns me because we gave a very specific direction in last summer. We recently spoke about it during budget of this year on exactly this matter, and this deals with council directed staff to initiate immediately the cleanup and refurbishment of the downtown tree bed along Frank and Front Street in Strathroy, including spot repairs of interlocking brick. And we actually provided money from the Main Street Revitalization Fund at the time of $76,979. The brickwork, nothing has occurred with that, and seeing that this was designated in middle of summer, I'm not understanding how that work was not at least started probably by within 30 to 45 days of that direction coming out from council. I'll just leave it there on that one. I'm not going to give or make a motion of anything else there. The operation of electric scooters 7 and 8. This again refers back to last year. We're now in March of the following year. We're some 4 months later, if not 5. We're coming into the season that these things are going to be out in the municipality again without a bylaw in place. In fact, according to the Highway Traffic Act, they're not allowed on the roadways. And we're not seeing any action on this. And lastly, the Tri-Township Arena design, the secondary design, I guess we call it the Councillor Derbyshire's requested design. I'm just looking for an update on that. That's only 2 months ago, but where we stand on that, and is A-Link at the design, the drawing phase yet?
So through the chair to Deputy Mayor, yes, A-Link has been working on it. They're working with Darren Downing, the manager, as well as Darren is working with Steve Dossett to make sure that we're getting everything that is needed in that space. They have run into some challenges with regards to the one end and connecting, so they're trying to work through that. So it is in progress. I've seen some sketches and so on that's been taking place. So hopefully I'm going to see something a little bit more concrete in the next couple weeks, but I can't promise you a deadline on that.
So,
excuse me.
On that one, can I motion that we get a interim report from A-Link about the difficulties or where they stand, projected costs, something, because I would like to get moving on the Tri-Township Arena design, and if this plan is not feasible or it looks like it's coming in at some cost that we know we're not interested in, then let's move on. So if I could get a report back on that in, I'll say 30 days, I'll motion that we get a report on item, I need my glasses on. 13, thank you. On item 13 within, is 30 days fair? Or in 2 meetings, put it 2 meetings out, whatever.
We'll do our best with that, yes.
Yeah, just an interim, that'd be thank you. So that's my motion there, and I think I made a motion on number 1 that we remove item number 1.
Okay, do you have a seconder for your motions?
No.
I'll second them. Okay. Do you have a question, Councillor?
Yeah, so on the Tri-Township one, I didn't see where we even budgeted for a project of that sort. No, I know we budgeted to get A-Link, but to actually complete the project this year, we didn't set aside even 2 million or whatever the original project was. So is this something that we really want to just keep pushing forward, or do we want to let it run its time until next budget where we can then budget for?
You are correct. My only comment would be that under the new, I hate to use the word strong mayor powers, but under the new budget regulations, you can bring back a mid-year amendment if council wished. Councilor, it does say under strong mayor, but if council felt that the arena proposal had enough merit, we could bring it back and make a mid-year amendment. It does say that in the legislation. Councillor Palmer.
I think also it would be worth having the design approved so that if there are grant opportunities, we're ready.
I do understand, we are coming into what's going to be a switch in council. You know, and I don't know if we hit lame duck in August or not, but we're gonna get everything really close. Do we wanna make the decision for the next council? Is that our game plan? Like, I guess that's where I'm coming with, you know, we're first off, we didn't budget for it. And second off, we're now gonna try to push it to have it in before, just so we can say we made the decision.
I don't want to put words in the deputy mayor's. I think he just wants to see the design, so we know it's an equitable design, right?
Yeah, I just want to know, that design, you know, occurred at the floor here, so I'm just looking to A-Link, now that they've had some discussion about it. What do they say about it? I think that, I mean, if any major project, you'd look at it and say, is it practical that we look at this, or isn't it? And that's all I'm looking for.
So then I'll go back to, depending on what the design is of it, if we're going out the end, which I said originally to go out the back side, sounds to me like they're thinking about going out the front side, which is where they're going to run into more problems because you have a whole lot of moving parts. You're moving a Zamboni room, possibly moving a cooler room, possibly this. That would not be what I proposed. And I know I was asked, do you care which end it goes on? I said, no, I don't particularly care what end it goes on, but If it going on the other end changes it by $3 to $4 million to make it a non-feasible project, then yeah, I'd probably have a problem with it going that way.
I think that's where the deputy mayor is trying to get to.
That's exactly what I want to find out, Councillor. Like, I want to know, where do we stand? Are they saying, well, we can't go out the baseball side for whatever reason, we want to go out this side, and that's going to mean a whole bunch of other things? Because if that's what they're doing, why are we proceeding down a pathway that is becoming too cumbersome?
So your baseball side has absolutely nothing restricting it. That's all I'm talking. They want to go out the front side so that you have a nice, pretty new facade. Whatever, do whatever you want.
Okay.
It's not my problem.
Yeah, Councillor Brand, we do have a second motion in front of us, by the way.
I'll wait.
Yeah, correct, you brought a motion, I seconded. So sorry, Councillor, any questions on the motions?
What is it?
Yeah.
That council directs staff to bring an interim report on item number 13 from A-Link on where they stand within 30 days.
All in favor of that motion? Opposed, if any? Motion carries. There was a second one to remove.
There was. Yeah, I think we can clean up the sheet by removing item number 1 if
Yes.
council's comfortable with that. That information is coming forth.
And I second that also. Go ahead.
A question on that. So you mentioned 325,000 coming back. So that is being paid back to the town.
It has not at this point in time. We're continuing to work through a whole bunch of financial documents, and we want to see them in a little bit of different format to really understand what's going on there. And then we'll the board will make a recommendation to corporate, and corporate will decide what they want to do. So that puts it all in control of council. And that's why I say you're all going to know what's going on because you're corporate membership.
Councillor Brennan.
In light of tonight's decision, can we take number 4 off the list?
What is number 4?
Unsafe trees on our roads. We just made a decision on that.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, in the same light of shortening the list.
Can we add that to your motion, Deputy Mayor?
Number 4.
Yeah, sure. Remove,
Yeah.
also,
Yeah, that's fine.
furthermore, remove item number 4.
It will be removed with the outcome out of this
because
meeting.
And then number 11, 137 Frank, where are we on that? We've done some things on that, haven't we, lately? I'm wondering if it's in the stage where we can remove it.
CAO.
Through the chair to Councillor Brett. Through the chair to Councillor Brennan. We're currently engaged with A-Link on some design work, and staff are presently. We will be the general contractor for that project, so we're, right into it about elbows deep at the moment. So the only portion on here that you may want to consider is the 2.5 to $5 million projection further down, or we can deal with that at another time. It's totally up to council with that respect.
I'm recommending that it's in process, and 11 could be removed because action's being taken. So I would just add that to the motion, that 4 and 11 could be deleted from the list.
I'm fine with that, thank you.
Okay. So we've got all those motions to remove. Any questions? All in favor of those motions? Opposed, if any? I'd like to make a motion that we recess at 7:48 and reconvene at 8 p.m. sharp. Someone to bring that motion. Deputy Mayor, somebody, Councillor Brennan, all in favor of recess till 8 p.m. Motion carries. we begin, motion to re-adjourn at 8 p.m. Councillor Wilsey?
Reconvene.
Reconvene. Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Readjourn, I'm waiting to readjourn.
All in favor of reconvening? Thank you. Before we begin, I do need to receive for information from the consent agenda, item 7.1.1, item 7.2.2, and 7.2.3. Motion to receive those for information. Deputy Mayor, second by Councillor Derbyshire. All in favor? Motion carries. Reports from departments. First is legal and legislative affairs. And just in interest of time, I'm not going to have any of the directors read the report back to us. We should have all read them. So first up is the procedure bylaw amendment. The motion is that bylaw number 20-26 be referred to the consideration of bylaws section of the agenda for approval. Someone to bring that motion. Deputy
Sorry, I'll make a comment afterwards.
Deputy Mayor, second by Councillor Brandon. Any questions? Deputy Mayor.
Yes. In the comments section, first paragraph, bottom line, it talks about the deadline for staff submissions of reports would also change to Monday, 2 weeks prior to the council meeting. And this would ensure that staff time to review and prepare the agenda before publishing, which is fine to make sure it's reviewed. But what that effectively does, if there's a situation this evening that you walk out of this meeting and you want to speak to it and do a notice of motion, you're delayed a month before that shows up. And if it's of importance to you or somebody in the community, we're now delaying council an opportunity to make that notice of motion within a reasonable time frame, because you're probably going to want to talk about it at the next meeting. I certainly would. If I'm going to bring a notice of motion, I'm bringing it for a purpose. So I don't have a problem with the idea behind the amendment and publishing it sooner so that we can see it, but I'm not comfortable that our notices of motion have to be in 2 weeks prior, because that causes a 28-day delay.
CAO.
Through the chair to Deputy Mayor, if there's a motion made at a council meeting, the clerks will allow for some flexibility with regards to that. The challenge is if we don't change the date in which the reports are submitted by staff to the Monday, it doesn't give the clerks enough time to get the agenda prepped and out a week in advance. So if there's 1 or 2 reports that council makes a motion to at a council meeting, we can allow that grace period to the Wednesday for staff to pull those reports together and get them into clerks.
Yeah. Go ahead, Mike.
I appreciate that, but for the very comments that you're stating, that notices of motion filed by members of council, if they're received by Wednesday noon, then that gives the councillor 36 hours walking out of this meeting to get his thoughts together, draft his notice of motion, have it to the clerk, and she can still have it published by Friday. Because they shouldn't be that difficult. We write them, we submit them. That should be the end of it.
So my apologies. I was under the assumption it was a motion from a council meeting at the council meeting, right? So tonight, if you were to make a motion for staff to have a report written for the next council meeting, the way it currently sits, we wouldn't be able to present that. However, because there's some flexibility with the clerks, we would be able to bring that report to council, not a notice of motion.
Okay.
So it was my misunderstanding. I apologize.
It might be mine too, so there may be a wording thing. I read that to reference a notice of motion. So if I bring a notice of motion, so
The clerk's going to respond.
Through the chair to the deputy mayor. So this process is, our goal is to be able to provide council and the public with an agenda published 7 days prior to the meeting so that we have lots of time for everyone to review. When it comes to a notice of motion, what we're gonna find is we are gonna start doing addendums to agendas. So if you have a notice of motion that doesn't meet that deadline because it's too far in advance, there will be addendums to these agendas based on criteria. A notice of motion, something that requires urgency that you want on the agenda, we will be implementing that. We don't normally do that now just because of our process was pretty short, but we want to be able to provide the public and council plenty of time to read lengthy agendas. So there is a bit of wiggle room as far as that goes, and we're hoping to implement those addendums.
That's just for staff, right?
Councillor Wilsey.
So I guess my question is, why are we publishing 2 days early, but moving the deadline 4 days earlier? So does staff need 2 more days for every agenda than they currently have to get it ready? I guess that's what I'm reading, because if right now the deadline is the Friday, and then you publish it on the Wednesday, now you've pushed publishing earlier 2 days, but you're pushing the deadline forward 4 days. So does staff need 2 more days to get the agenda ready than they currently have? Or can we maybe make that deadline a Wednesday instead of the Monday?
We certainly can do that. We do that because a report is not just submitted to the clerk's office and put on the agenda. It goes through quite an approval process. It'll go through multiple departments for approval, and those sometimes rest 1 or 2 days in each department before it gets to the clerk's office. So we're just trying to allow enough time prior to publishing to go through that process.
To further to that, the procedural bylaw says the Friday for staff reports, but internally, we've been submitting them on Wednesdays. So to aid with the production of the agenda package. So that was an internal direction that was provided to staff. I'm going to say a year ago or 2 years ago now.
Yep. Any other questions? Follow up. You had one, Greg? Yep.
Yes, so I guess if we're not changing that in the bylaw, then we're just changing it informally then, here as well? I guess I'm just, why we're changing parts of it and not changing other parts of it, and we're making exceptions at every meeting where, like with the closed meeting, we've made an exception that we're not going to update this bylaw for the exception we're making to do the closed meetings at 5 o'clock because council. So I'm just confused over why we're making exceptions in bylaws for some and not for others. The other part is that if there's a holiday Monday, how does that affect this? There's nothing in here that says how that's going to go. It just consistency seems to be lacking right now.
Deputy Mayor.
Yes. I need to clarify that Councillor Palmer beside me has pointed something out. So I was reading from the report page, and within the actual bylaw, page 23, item 8.27, a member wishing to introduce an item for debate by council will provide a notice of motion to the clerk in writing for inclusion on the regular agenda 10 days prior. That solves exactly what I was talking about. So my apologies, Madam Clerk. I should have read further. I didn't see that.
All right. So we have a second in motion. All in favor of the motion? Opposed, if any? Carries. Community services. Next up is the noise bylaw. Motion is that noise bylaw number 19-26 be forwarded to the consideration of bylaws section of the agenda for approval. Motion, Councillor Brandon, second by Councillor Kenneth. Any questions or comments? Deputy Mayor.
Page, oh, there's no page. I'm looking at the actual bylaw. So let's go down to part 3, temporary noise permit. Item 3.2 at the bottom of the page. So my first question is, only council issuing temporary noise permits? They have to make an application to council and we make a determination whether they get a temporary noise permit? That question arises out of 3.A, clause A, expiry on the date set out in the temporary noise permit, or if no date is set out in the temporary noise permit, 48 hours after its issuance. So it seems like it might be issued quickly, which certainly wouldn't be done by council. I thought only council was issuing temporary noise permits. Second to that would be in the same section, E, that it may be revoked by council or the director at their sole discretion. Again, if council is issuing temporary noise permits, why would a director be rescinding it? And I'm not quite sure that I'm comfortable with that. I thought only council would revoke a temporary noise permit. So,
Mr. Littlemore. Through the chair to Deputy Mayor, all great points. The temporary noise permit is to be approved by council. As for the revoking of the noise permit by the director, council had this bylaw prior to this meeting at a strategic priorities meeting. We can always make that amendment on the fly this evening if you'd like that removed. It's no issue with regards to the director, with regards to that. The only other person that could revoke the noise permit immediately would be a officer.
Yes, it's in there.
If they're violating it.
It's already in there. So,
Deputy Mayor.
So based upon that, I'll also say that when you read this section, it says, so I'm in the 3.2, A, D, E, and F. So obviously you've taken B and C out. You might want to.
We may want to just fix
do a tight up there, but perhaps A should be that all temporary noise permits are authorized by council. Then move to the next one so that it's clear for everybody. And then in E, which is currently E, but you'll renumber them, that it may be revoked by council.
Yep.
And remove the rest. That would be my motion.
Okay. Did the Deputy Mayor bring the original motion?
Yeah, I think
we had a motion to accept it.
Sure.
It was John to accept it?
Yes.
Yeah, it was John.
John's.
Rank.
Okay. But we hadn't voted on to accept it, right?
We
So
have
this
not.
is an amendment. Since we do have a second motion, Councilor Brown, will you accept the friendly amendment? For the Deputy Mayor?
I appreciate what the Deputy Mayor is saying. I'm trying to think of a situation in which it would be expeditious to have a director be able to revoke a temporary noise permit at their sole discretion if they knew that there was going to be or there were violations that were going to happen. In other words, if it had been granted by council and then in conversations with the person who's applied, the director finds out that they are not going to be in compliance with the terms of that noise permit, I guess we could wait until the day of the event and have an officer intervene. I'm just wondering if we want to have a director have the executive authority to make sure that the noise violations, if they are, if the permit is not going to be honored in the manner in which it was issued by council, and the director finds that out, because maybe people, I don't know, change the hours arbitrarily on their tickets or something like that. And we know that there's going to be, the director finds out he knows there's going to be a problem. And they're talking to him saying, you can't do that. That's not what council said. And if you do that, I'm going to have to revoke your permit, as opposed to waiting the night of, having an officer do it. So I look at the director at their sole discretion as an enforcement issue of council's will. And I don't know if we wanted to strip them of that.
Follow-up, Deputy Mayor.
I see it as an enforcement issue and therefore think it should stay in the enforcement section with bylaw enforcement as opposed to sending it back over to the director who now becomes involved in a potential argument. So I see it as enforcement, and we have people that deal with that, and because we know how these go, right? And they become messy, and so we'll let enforcement go out and speak to them on site and deal with it and make it compliant or revoke it or whatever they need to do, as opposed to putting any of our other staff in that position.
Well, on that basis,
I understand what you're saying.
On that basis, I'll accept the friendly amendment.
Okay, remind me who seconded, was it me? Are you okay with that, Councillor Kennis? Any other follow-up? Councillor Palmer.
So I'm just having trouble understanding the temporary noise permit and the regular. So for example, let's talk about places like Caradoc Sands, because I feel like this is how this all sort of started, or any other venue, whether it's a Portuguese club or whatever, having an event. Would they have to apply for a temporary noise permit? For any, in what condition would they have to apply for those?
Through the chair to Councillor Perry, anything that is outside the existing conditions of the noise bylaw. So if they're going beyond the required timeline, so if you, I think it's, they have to be done, the noise cannot be excessive past 11. So they would have to go and get the temporary noise permit to be able to continue that noise to 12 a.m.
Okay, that's where I'm confused, because I don't see where it says 11, it says 12. Friday through Saturday from 12 p.m. to 7 a.m. So, and then the temporary noise permit is in effect for those hours. So that's why I feel like I'm missing them.
Go ahead, jump in there, Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, I just happened to review it all. So if you just go up to the section above in 2.3, prohibitions. So prohibitions are setting forth everything that people have to comply with. You know, animal, any time of the day, amplified sound, any time of the day, yelling and shouting, hooting, whistling, singing, Thursday from 10 p.m. till 7 a.m., the following day, Friday, Saturday, from midnight till 7 a.m. And then they talk about construction, power equipment, and then what happens on Sundays and holidays. So anything outside of that would require the temporary noise permit. And that's what council would be making decision on.
Okay, thank you. Any other follow-up? Councillor Wilsey.
Just a point of clarification, because on that prohibitions for the amplified sound, that would be a speaker system. So, like, Caradoc Sands, every time that they have an event, because the bylaw says that any time, if it goes to a residential neighborhood, so if they want to have something at like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, as long as it's not a political thing, because they're allowed, part of the bylaw here, but if it's not a political event, anytime they want to use their speakers where the neighbors might hear it, they need a temporary noise permit. Is that what we want to approve? I know it said in the report that there was no modifications by council, but there was discussions and things brought up and things were voted down. So there were discussions, but no changes were made.
Did you want to comment, Mr. Littlemore?
Through the chair to council, during the strategic priorities meeting, there was very limited conversation about the noise bylaw. The conversation, we really spent a lot of time on the sign bylaw, but there was very limited conversation on the noise bylaw. Regardless of that, if council wants us to make some adjustments, we can do that. If Councillor Wilsey is right, if you refer to the prohibitions, a temporary noise permit would need to be filled out. That's no different really than what we currently have in place with regards to the temporary noise permit. This bylaw is a little bit cleaner written. This bylaw provides it's a little bit tighter with regards to some of its restrictions, and it allows for, and this is through through our lawyers with the Middlesex County as well as the prosecutor's office, it is allowed for, I want to say the word flexibility is probably not the right term, but it allows for officer judgment, where we thought we wanted to go more prescriptive, and both the prosecutors, the Strathroy-Caradoc Police Service did not want us to go more prescriptive. They wanted it to be a little bit more flexible.
Okay. Deputy Mayor, then we'll bring it to a vote.
So here's one of the problems we're getting into. if we're gonna read the legislation, and in this case, we have to go right and read all of it. Because we're reading a little section here and there, and it doesn't make sense. So you have to go right back to noise prohibitions at section 2.1. No person shall emit, cause, or permit the emission of unreasonable noise or noise that is likely to disturb the inhabitants. So that's your general, you can't make noise if it disturbs the inhabitants. 2.2 talks about any location, what you can't do anywhere. It talks about that. We're down in 2.3, residential areas, and specifically it says in 2.3, the opening statement, without limiting the generality of 2.1 of this bylaw, the following shall be deemed to be unreasonable noise. So you have to take it in the context of 2.1. If it's not disturbing the inhabitants, you're fine. So we can't just simply focus on one section when we're talking about the enforcement of legislation. It doesn't work.
Thank you. Okay, Councillor Perrin and Councillor Derbyshire.
Yeah, I just can't help but think this is gonna be problematic for our businesses that do events, whether, you know, or clubs, Portuguese Club would be another one, that have events outdoors. So this is basically, correct me if I'm wrong, they would, like you said, they would have to come for a permit every time they're doing an outdoor event? No, okay, please clarify.
Through the chair to Councillor Palmer, if you go back to the explanation that the deputy mayor was providing, you have to read the piece of the bylaw in its entirety, not just in bits and pieces. So if the Portuguese Club was to have their annual march, right, from the Catholic Church to the Portuguese Hall, is it reasonable that there's going to be a certain amount of noise made during that time? It would be reasonable to expect that. If there was hooting and hollering and screaming and so on going on, that's permitted till midnight based on the prohibitions. But you again have to go back to 2.1 where it says no person shall emit, cause, or permit the emission of unreasonable noise or noise that is likely to disturb the inhabitants. That's when the police officer or bylaw enforcement officers will come out to the location and they need to make an assessment. Then what they're going to do is they're going to go into the definitions of what's considered unreasonable noise. So if you find unreasonable noise as defined, means any sound that, by its level, duration, character, or time of occurrence, is likely to disturb the peace, rest, enjoyment, comfort, or convenience of a reasonable person. Having regard to all circumstances, it includes but is not limited to the noise that is excessive in volume, so louder than is reasonably necessary for the activity being conducted, on and on and on. That will be a judgment call by the police officer or the bylaw enforcement officer. And that was what the prosecution's office and the Strathroy-Caradoc Police Service wanted. They wanted the officer to be able to have that judgment, and it's based on the information that's presented in the bylaw.
Okay.
Just a follow-up to that?
Yeah, follow up then, Councillor Derbyshire.
I don't think that that's what residents want. I don't think residents want to hear that we created a bylaw to give the bylaw officers and the police officers to be able to use their judgment. I think the people living around these properties want to know, well, they got to turn that crap down at 11 or 12. Otherwise, I think we're just going to be running around with complaints all the time, you know, and I think if it were me, like I would want to know, like I like it a little more prescriptive where I go, okay, well that's permitted till 10 o'clock. Okay, well I guess I'll just have to deal with the loud whistling and singing till 10 p.m. But the other is just left wide open. I don't think that's gonna meet the needs of the organizations or the residents.
Yeah, one more then, Councillor Derbyshire.
So again, I through the chair to Councillor Palmer, I go back to section 2.2 under prohibitions. If you're talking about the shouting, yelling, looting, loud whistling, hollering in the backyards, that's not permitted after 12 p.m. to 7 a.m. Friday through Saturday, and it's not permitted between 10 p.m. from Sunday to 7 a.m. the next day. So that is covered in the bylaw. So if your neighbor was to have 10 friends over and tying one on and throwing and hooting and hollering and screaming, then you know as a resident that at midnight, that's gotta stop. It's in the bylaw. You could also complain in the middle of the day, and if the officer comes out and they deem it unreasonable, they could ask the residents to tone it down, right? So that's in the bylaw as well.
I see that, but it doesn't say that for amplified sound, which is what happens at Caradoc Sands. There's no time on that section. There's only time on the shouting and yelling section.
Well, you're right, amplified sound, because you're using an amplifier as opposed to people that are yelling and screaming and hooting. Annoying, but you're using your voice. We're not. As soon as you put a microphone up, it falls into another section. I totally understand that. I think it works. I used to deal with this more than sitting at this table. Remember, we're putting in a bylaw that helps govern people's activities and gives our bylaw enforcement officers a chance to go and say, please be compliant. When it escalates beyond that, it's a whole nother group of people that are going to show up and deal with it, and they may or may not use this piece of legislation as opposed to other legislation that they have available to them.
Councilor Derbyshire, we've gone on this one, then we'll bring it to a vote.
Thanks. Mine was just a question simply on the fines. Who exactly gets to figure out whether it's 100 or 50,000? Like, that is massive. Same with your second is 400 to 100,000. So, like, yeah, I know it does say.
That answer.
Yep. We'll go to the judicial expert.
I haven't dealt. If you go to the very final page, you have a set fine. The set fines have been approved by the courts. You have 3 set fines. If they show up, if an officer, enforcement officer, or police officer shows up and wants to issue a Part 1, an offense notice under Part 1 of the Provincial Offences Act, we call them tickets. You get them when you speed. There's your set fines. It's been approved by the courts already. Anything other than that would be proceeded with by way of Part 3 of the Provincial Offences Act or a summons under Part 1, and the courts determine what your fine is. There's the long-winded answer.
There you go. Okay, we've got that.
Why is that's in here?
Set fines?
The penalty.
Go ahead. Go ahead, then I want to bring this one to a vote.
Councilor Derbyshire, you're referring to section 6.3, right?
Yeah,
So it says every person who's guilty of an offense under this bylaw shall be subject to the following penalties. 6.3A, upon first conviction to a fine not less than 100 and not more than 50,000. Upon a second or subsequent conviction, same offense to a fine not less than 400, not more than 100,000. Again, I'll build on what Deputy Mayor said. That's not the municipality setting those fees. That'll be set by provincial courts.
Okay, we have a second motion with amendments. I believe there were amendments, correct?
Did you read that?
Could you read it back for us?
It's been a long meeting.
Okay, bear with me, because this was a few minutes ago. The amendment that was made was to section 3.2A, which was to be changed to that all temporary noise permits be authorized by council, and that section 3.2E be changed that they may be revoked by council, so the removal of the director. Did I capture what?
Yep. Yes.
Okay. Okay, you have this.
And the ordering of the ABC,
Yes.
like the changes, yeah, housekeeping.
Housekeeping.
Yes.
Okay. All in favor of the motion? Opposed, if any? Motion carries. Community Gardens 2026 fees. Motion that council approve the proposed 2026 community garden fees and direct staff to include in the schedule of fees. Motion. Someone bring. Councilor Kennis, seconder. I will second that. Any questions for the director on the fees? Councilor Derbyshire.
How close are these fees to last year, which Doesn't look like we even came close to filling this garden.
Through the chair, Manager Lattimore is in the stands, but the fees are identical to last year's. The gardens, we were late getting them promoted. We didn't actually open the garden up until, I want to say it was close to the end of May. So we didn't have a lot of time to promote it. This year, we've already got people inquiring about gardens and what the fees are. So it was an oversight on staff's part, and we didn't include them in the schedule of fees for 2026 when that came in December. So we're here this evening just looking to update that.
Any other, follow up, Councillor Derbyshire.
So if this thing gets completely booked full, it will cover itself? Is that good, yea, nay?
Through the chair to Councillor Derbyshire, there's minimal cost with regards to the operation of it. We slip down and provide water in some crates. We line trim the fence line and so on. So it's not our responsibility to maintain the gardens. At the end of the season, we typically will go through and clean out the beds at the end of the season, but there's minimal operational costs associated with this.
Okay. One last thing.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, so it actually doesn't pay for itself. That would be, I just wanna know, are the fees high enough to pay for itself? If we rent every box out.
I'm going to pass that over to Mr. Lattimore, but I would argue that they do because there's minimal operational costs associated with it, but I'll let Paul clarify.
Thank you. Through the chair to Councillor Derbyshire, we don't have exact numbers as to what it would cost. We maintain that space before they were community gardens, so there was already costs that were incurred without any revenue generated. This at least does generate some revenue and provide a service to the community. So in terms of that, I would say that it covers our bases in what we were doing before, what we were providing and paying to service that area. I don't think it's increased at all. If anything, if we sell all the beds, I would say that we would be ahead of where we were before.
One last one, Councillor.
I was just gonna say, that is my question. I understand we had to cut the grass, we had to line trim, and we had to this. What I'm asking is, if the boxes are all full, whatever dirt, whatever water, whatever cost that is incurred by just this. Like, I understand we were cutting the grass and trim lining before, so we're not gonna count that as a cost. All I want is, because it's a user pay system and we're not giving, you know, this to the people, or like, we're not, this isn't the municipality growing food for the homeless. So I do believe it should, the boxes, the price should cover the cost of the dirt, the water, the seed, whatever we provide for this thing should cover itself. Not the grass cutting or the line trimming or.
All right, through the chair to Councillor Derbyshire, all of the dirt is in the boxes already. That was part of the initial construction of the build. So there's zero cost there. The only cost that is associated with operating that garden is the staff's time to come down and put water in the storage container that's there, and the regular maintenance that we would do at the end of the year. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you that that these numbers are going to cover the complete operational costs, because we haven't done that analysis. But what I can tell you is that it's not going to be any more than what we spent on that property before.
Okay. Councillor Wilsey, was your hand up, Greg? I saw you.
Yeah, my question was covered.
Okay. Okay, any other questions? Seeing none, all in favor of the seconded motion? Both motion carries. The Strathroy-Caradoc history in full color. The motion is that council approve the request for $10,083.06 through the Progress Through Partnership Program to support the Strathroy-Caradoc's history in full color and sound. Someone bring a motion. Councillor Canis, do we have a seconder? I'll second the motion to open it up.
Can I?
Yep.
There seems to be a calculation error here. If you look at the financial implication it's $13,083.06. And if you were to add up the numbers in the report, it would equal $13,083.06. So that request should be for $13,083.06.
Were there any questions or concerns? We'll go Councillor Wilsey first, then the Deputy Mayor.
So this application came to CDAC, and when we reviewed it, we at CDAC as a group, and I believe Councillor Palmer led this, we asked to look into the museum, so we thought the museum had a reserve fund to cover this rather than taking the money that we're supposed to use to help our community groups do things like parks and community access. Not that this isn't a decent use for that money if it's unspent, but the museum has a reserve for this. I'm just wondering why we're not using that reserve.
Director Dakin, I'll flip that one to you, or? Yep.
Mr.
Oh, Mr. Lattimore.
Paul was ready to speak to
Yeah,
that.
sorry.
Through the chair to Councillor Wilsey, the reason why we would prefer not to use museum reserves on this project is because this is something that can be used across multiple departments or areas. So through Progress Through Partnership, it's an opportunity to work with community groups like HCC and provide opportunities that can be used abroad. So this could be used in our special events, it could be used in our recreation programs, could be used across many different areas. So we'd like to keep the reserves for the museum strictly for museum projects. This one is initially going to be for the museum, but something that we'll be able to expand as it becomes our asset through the program, then we can use it in other areas.
Councillor Palmer, then Councillor Brand. Councillor Palmer.
How long, I don't see any time frame here on how long that this would be, like this project would run at the museum. Is it going to be a long-standing project, something that's going to go on for a long term? Is it time limited? It's 4 to 6 weeks, or how is that going to work?
Through the chair to Councillor Palmer, I think this is intended to be something that can be brought back multiple times. It'll probably run initially the same frame as an exhibit would, so it would run for a couple months, but that's something that can be brought back and used in multiple capacities as well. The project is going to do a variation of different items that can be used with this, so it could be interchanged and created into a new exhibit in the future. So it provides that diversity in the project as well.
Councillor Brannan.
Thank you. So to be clear, the project would require a computer, 4600, 3 projectors, 6100, and 4 speakers, about 2400, for the completing the display. And that's HCC working with the museum. These pieces of technology that we're purchasing, are they going to be items, assets that belong to the museum that are used by HCC, or are these items going to belong to HCC? Through the chair.
Yeah, through the chair to Councillor Brand, they'll be our asset through the PTP program. They do become ours. Again, we've had this partnership, an ongoing partnership with the HCC, so it's not something that we wouldn't let them use, because I think that's a good use of our assets, but it'll be something that's ours.
Okay. Any further questions? Deputy Mayor.
The program, the PTP program, how much does it start with? How much of that are we using by spending the $13,000? And what exactly is the PTP program designed to do?
Mr. Lattimore. Or you got it. Okay, there you go.
Through the chair to Deputy Mayor. So the Progress Through Partnership program starts with $40,000 every year. This will deduct $13,083.06 from the $40,000. The Progress Through Partnership is a program that was designed to seek out community partners to build or create assets within the municipality. So I can Example of past projects would be some garden beds, as an example around Town Hall here, the water fountain in front of the cenotaph. There's a bike repair station down by the Scout House. There was money provided for a baseball tunnel in Bridges. There was monies provided for the beach volleyball courts up at the fairgrounds. There's a number of assets that the whole premise of the program is the asset becomes the municipalities through the partnerships with other organizations.
Thank you.
Seeing no further questions, we have a seconded motion. All in favor of the motion? Opposed, if any? Motion carries. Thank you. Paul? Engineering and public works contract award. The motion is the council approve of a sole source award of a contract in the amount of $102,190, excluding HST, to Collier's Project Leaders, Inc., for public engagement services for the downtown revitalization of Mount Bridges and Strathroy. Someone to bring a motion. Councillor Derbyshire, I will.
So I'm gonna motion it that we just receive it for information.
Okay. Sure. Yep. You have a seconder for your motion. Okay. Councillor Palmer. Any further? May I ask, since we're open, why are we asking for information, Councillor?
I think we need to get some clarification as to where we stand and why it's gone, and goes back to even Deputy Mayor McGuire's motion back in the day where he motioned to have stuff fixed with this money, with some of this money. So I think there was just a bunch of confusing emails back and forth with where the money went, how it went, why it went, where it went. I'll be honest with you too, it's not that this project doesn't need to come forward and move forward, but with it finishing November 1st, we're now charting a course for another council. So it's gonna be our opinions and our this, and I realize it's public information, public consultation, but a whole new council will then be introduced, or possibly a whole new council will be introduced to this, where they're gonna have their questions, what this is, what that is, and are we then going to see them go back to the consultant again with their redesign of what they think should happen? Because the structure of it itself, the underneath, the pipes and the water and like all that infrastructure obviously isn't going to change. We've already got that done, I believe, through the first consultant, so that's not changing. We're now talking about what we're going to see, walk on, touch, feel. So if it's not going to come until, my thought is if it's not coming to the next council, I don't know why we would be engaging at this point with this interaction. I think we should do exactly what Councillor Palmer said. We fix the problems that are down there, and you put it in the budget for next year to move forward with the another consultant to do the public inquiries. Do it from October to January so that you're ready to hit the ground running come springtime.
Deputy Mayor McGuire.
Thank you. I'm not in favor of spending $102,000, and I'm glad that's not the motion that's in front of us. We have put significant finances towards our operational capacity at Town Hall with the hire of a number of very qualified and highly skilled people, particularly in our communications division. To spend $102,000 to go out and do public consultation seems it's not something I can support. I'm trying to choose my words, but they weren't going to be good ones. We have people that can do this work in-house, I believe. It's work that needs to occur, We have a BIA, we have a Chamber of Commerce. We know who we want to hear from. We're able to hold public meetings and invite people to it. And to hire a consultant that's going to consult back to council? I'm offended. We're the ones that want to receive the information to represent our constituents. I don't need a consultant calling me, asking me what I want to see. I want to hear from the municipality. And then we'll discuss it around the table. So I would not support the original motion at all. It works that needs to be done, but it's work that should be done in-house. Once we start to establish what's going on, if it needs to, if it needs to be drawn up by somebody, absolutely, those are other comments.
Can I make just a friendly amendment, maybe, Councilor Derbyshire? I can understand the Strathroy, but I think, and piggybacking on what the deputy mayor said, I think Mount Bridges downtown should be an easy one for consultation using our resources. As we've talked about this, deputy mayor is just a curb to the front of the business. So on that one, I agree that we don't necessarily need the consultants. I think our staff may be able to do that. I've often thought that. So I wonder, Councilor Derbyshire, if you'd be willing for a friendly amendment to allow the Mount Bridges consultation using our staff to occur.
Let's let it go around and see if anybody else, I mean, I'm really to the point where I don't see a lot of these things that we're trying to move forward with where we're going. Being a counselor that came in 4 years ago and to the new projects, and just basically got told they've already been acted on and we have to move forward and this is the way it is. I don't think we should put another council in that position again. So when we start making decisions like this, and I'm not opposed to our staff doing and moving forward with this, again, we'd like to see, do we even have the money or does that have to come from somewhere else? Like, there's a bunch of questions that just need to be asked. And for the Mount Bridges downtown, our staff can probably do it because we don't have anything. But that doesn't mean let's move forward with this project as it is. It's supposed to be done, the way it was set up was for both of them to kind of go in order. So you would hate to go and do Mount Bridges and then the consultations say, well, Strathroy's getting this, and this, and then Mount Bridges go, oh yeah, well, you gave us, all this here, and we're left with nothing. I think the plan, the way it's set up to move forward, I would leave it like that with both working at the same thing so that both get to see what the other people are getting and we don't have we went first and now we got wooden boxes and they got metal boxes and we wanted to, I'm just throwing stuff out there that might happen. That would be my only concern, is if we're gonna just try to shove one forward because we can, I don't think we should do that. I'd let more people speak.
Yep, Councilor Pamela, then we'll go to this side.
Yeah, I hear and agree with some of what Councilor Derbyshire is saying in terms of making decisions. I do think, however, we could spend the summer doing community engagement. And I'm not sure that we have to pay $100,000 for community engagement. I think that there has been lots of times in my recent memory where people in this room have done really good communication with sticky notes and at the Gemini and different centers where we kind of get a feel for what it is that people want to see, and we could even come up with some visuals for them based on what other communities have done. And I think that as staff we could pull that together, and then we could perhaps put that money towards the design, which then maybe is held off a decision on moving forward with the design until the new term of council. I agree with Councilor Derbyshire. I'm not sure we want to make those big decisions for somebody else, but I do think that we should keep it moving along, and I've obviously been very vocal about keeping this process moving along, but I don't see why we couldn't just go out and talk to our community and give them some ideas based on what other communities have done and get some feedback and take that back to the design team.
Any other, Councilor Wilsey?
I'd actually like to see community engagement both in Strathroy and Mount Bridges with the business, the Chamber of Commerce, both BIAs. I think our staff can do a lot of that. We already have a booth where we're attending at the market, which is right where this is happening, almost every week all the way through the night markets. Those are all the things that use that area as far as residents coming down to it. The local businesses would put in through the BIAs. The other part comes down to financing with this report as well. The funds for this project are already spent and gone. They've already been allocated, they've been pulled out, this project has no funds left. When it comes back, I'd like to see the consultation with council happen with the next council, because even with this, we're not gonna realistically have anything back before the election, and we can't make any decisions if we go lame duck in August anyways. So I'd like to see the council consultation part delayed till the new term. When it comes back, I would actually like to also see a full costing for how much the design is gonna cost to actually bring something through that could be tender. Because right now, there's no money. We don't know, like, there's an estimate that's gonna be another $50,000 to $100,000 of design work to get it to something, but that all depends on what they change. We don't know what's gonna change. We don't know what the requests are gonna be. So to go forward and do the consultation and not know how much it's gonna design, this whole project was only budgeted for $100,000 back in 2022, and we've already allocated $285. So we're almost 3 times our budget already, and we haven't even done our consultation. That's just my thoughts. I'll stop there.
Councilor Derbyshire.
Sorry, I was just gonna ask one question. With the new project manager coming in, is this not something that would be in his wheelhouse, being that we already actually do have a whole design, we just didn't do the public consultation? So,
Can I add on to that? And also,
Sure.
we have a new communications person. We're on the same wavelength. We have people who could possibly start this process, right? That's where I was trying to go with a friendly, maybe it's for Strathroy too.
And I could, yeah, my question, I guess, would be, is that something that is in a project manager's wheelhouse? Or yes or no? I assume it is, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm my only project manager, so.
Yeah. Director Ortiz.
Yeah, thank you, through the chair to Councilor Derbyshire. A project manager would definitely support this type of work. The targeted public engagement that we would be looking to do really is kind of a specialized service, I would say. And there's probably a benefit of having not a partial or a completely impartial party to do that, so that it's not staff necessarily directing a certain way of doing things. But to bring it in-house, my main concern would be just capacity. I think we have a new project manager who started today. It's going to take some time to bring that person up to speed. Definitely with some support from, assuming there's capacity from communications side, there's definitely an opportunity for staff to participate and move the public engagement forward. I suggest we still might need some support externally for that targeted engagement piece, but it's something we could work on. Timelines would be concerning to me. This was put forward to really advance the timeline and make sure that we're hitting the targets that we need to hit to get constructing in 2028. It's not to say we couldn't necessarily do that with internal staff. It's just a risk to the project and the timeline. And of course, a project of this magnitude and public input, it's a big project. So I want to make sure we have the capacity and the team to manage it appropriately.
So can I suggest we vote on Councilor Derbyshire's motion to this, and then if somebody wants to bring a second motion on a path moving forward, does that seem fair? Because we're going to go around. So your motion, Councilor Derbyshire, was
just for information.
Just for information. We vote on that, and then if somebody has an idea on a second path forward, I think we could have that. So we deal on Councilor Derbyshire's motion to just receive this for information. All in favor of that motion? Motion carries. Okay, so now I'm trying to work here. Let's find a path. Opposed. Opposed, yeah, I saw that.
Opposed.
Yeah.
And noting that 2 other councillors are absent. But.
Yeah. Sorry, I apologize. But I'm used to just saying, but I'm trying to find a path forward. Is there a path forward in Can I sit down there, Deputy, or do you got a motion? You
All right,
are.
I'll make a motion, yeah.
Okay.
That we direct staff to prepare a report outlining how we could do a community engagement process using internal staff.
I'll second that, because those were gonna be my words. Any questions? Councillor Wilsey.
I'd like to add to that, our interim CAO has done a great job with all the meetings he's done for the parks. And we look at the many parks that we've done and the public engagement we've done on that. I think that's the same path that we want to follow for this. So I would ask that we engage their recreation department to get some of their resources and their experience to help guide staff. If that could be a friendly amendment on that.
And I agree with what you're saying, but I don't know that we should be directing specific staff. I think this motion goes to the CAO to carry out, and then the CAO will direct it out as he sees fit. As long as we get a report back in a timely manner, I'm happy.
I was just thinking.
I don't know that we can direct it to a specific person in-house.
I was just thinking for input on the report to whoever's going to do the report. Just because they've done such a great job, I would hate to have that
Falling on his
excluded.
desk right now.
Any further? Councillor Kennis.
Just a comment. I think if we are aiming to have nothing done before next spring, then we're on that path, so.
Thank you for that comment. Any other? Councillor Derbyshire.
Just so I'm clear, did I see where the timeline was in November 1st for this to come back to council, for this whole report from Colliers? Like, or was that in a separate email that we received?
Sorry, what's the?
Was it November 1st that we were going to see if the independent person was going to do it, they were going to have it all wrapped up and done for November 1st. I believe that's what the email, I'll go back and see if I can pull up the email.
Any other? Councillor Brennan.
Yeah, so well, this process began in 2022, we're in 2026, and we're following a pathway which maybe puts in jeopardy getting this project completed by 2028. So let's say it maybe gets done in 2029. So that'll be 7 years from conception till then. That's really a horrific long period of time. And just a comment here. One thing that often happens when people, I guess, want to make changes, I guess, is the first casualty is continuity. And for whatever reason, this council, in my experience, has had the greatest disruption in continuity with previous councils. We used to have, and maybe it was just a function of the election, but it used to be that we'd have more of a seamless flow over from one council to another, and long-term projects were able to continue without great disruption. This council, I think, has lost that, and I think that's something that we can all reflect on. I'm not saying we're right or wrong. I'm just saying that that's something that has been lost. And decisions have been made where we've had now 5 CAOs, well, no, 3 CAOs and 2 acting CAOs in 3 years. You know, that leads to discontinuity. And I think when we take a look at things, you know, I think we're moving beyond administrative issues into governance issues. Some of the decisions we're making, I think, are slowing things down needlessly. And it used to be the baton used to get passed between councils and the projects would continue. We seem to have dropped the baton. That's my comment.
Thank you. Wait, I think Mr. Lilborn has a comment on November 1st.
I was just gonna clarify Councillor Derbyshire's comment about November 1st. It's under the project schedule in Collier's proposal. They identify starting a schedule spanning March 15th through to November 1st for that public consultation piece.
Okay.
So, sorry, I was just gonna say, that was my point. We're really not slowing down anything if we weren't gonna see it till November 1st. So that gives our people 7 months to put this together. So, you know, we're not slowing it down. We're gonna stay on the same schedule. Have it completed by November 1st then. How's that slowing it down?
Okay. Yep. Any other comments? Yep, we're okay. We have a seconded motion. All are in favor of the motion.
What is this motion?
Oh, it was to direct staff.
So it's that council directs staff to prepare a report outlining how we could do a community engagement process using internal staff. And that was moved by Deputy Mayor and seconded by the Mayor.
That's due November 1st or?
No.
It's April 1st of 2027 or when?
I can put a timeline,
Put a timeline on it.
to be brought back to council within 30 days.
Okay.
It's just a report as to what, not have it done.
Yeah. Okay. Councillor Wilsey.
Just a comment on that timeline for within 30 days with the budget, with the timeline we just passed, staff's gonna have to have that done within about a week and a half now. So I just wanna make sure that we're good with that.
Yeah.
I've been on short timelines
Okay.
before.
We have a seconded motion. All in favor of the seconded motion? Opposed, if any? Tie vote.
Fails.
Fails. Okay.
So can we put,
So we need something.
Do you have another motion?
my motion would be that we have staff do it. I don't want to report on it. You do the public consultation, you do the thing, bring it back to us November 1st. I don't need a report on whether you can or can't. They're gonna say they can't.
So through the chair to council, I fully appreciate the support that this council has of staff and our skill set. I really do. The challenge that we have, and part of that $102,000, and the director can correct me if I'm wrong, would come back with drawings with regards to design concepts, including the public consultation piece. The only piece that we would be able to provide would be the public consultation piece. We would still have to take that consultation to a third party to get them to develop concepts from that consultation.
I'm gonna jump in. I
Yeah.
apologize.
Sure.
According to the clerk, and I apologize, I can't count past 4 sometimes.
Okay.
The motion, and I'll be honest about that motion did carry. It was 4-3. I apologize. I looked this way and there, and so it's a moot point. I apologize. I got up past that pinky and I stopped. But go ahead.
That'll be the information we bring back in the report.
So, you hit everything that I feel about this project. I don't need somebody from out of town, Toronto, Mississauga, wherever they come from, to give me 14 different drawings about how grand downtown Strathroy or downtown Mount Bridges could look.
Okay.
I want to find out what the public wants, and then I want to go to whoever and say, do a drawing, and let's see it.
All right, Deputy Mayor.
Okay.
Yes.
Just point of clarification, I had a discussion with the director just on the scope of this consultant project.
Yeah.
And just for clarifying that, the consultant for 102,000 did not include any drawings. That was going to be in addition, paid to the original consultant. So I did get that clarification. So if the consultant can go back to our original consultant, I think our staff can as well. The 102,000 included no drawings.
Okay.
So just
all right. Deputy Mayor, is your voice good enough for the county council report?
Yeah, I actually don't have anything. Last meeting must have been boring because I didn't make any notes.
Okay. I will now go to announcements and inquiries. We'll start with Councillor Kent.
I will put my happy face on now. Well, actually, it's kind of a sad face. I just want to recognize a professional within our community who retired very quietly a couple weeks ago, Dr. Ron Kreutzer, who's an optometrist here in town for more than 40 years and has served probably thousands of people in our community, including me, about 40 years ago when I was having great vision problems and I was concerned about my ability to function normally in society. So he was able to get me fitted with contact lenses that helped me to see straight again, and he just does his work very quietly and diligently, and it's folks like him that make our community what it is, because he has attracted people to Strathroy for his services, but then those people spend money in stores and restaurants, And so I just want to publicly recognize him and thank him for his contribution to our community. There are many more like him in the community that, like I said, quietly do their work, but do just tremendously good work for people and for our community. So thank you, Dr. Kreutzer.
Councillor Wilsey.
I just had a question. When we were going through some of the stuff earlier this week, I spent a lot of time going through this year's budget and past budgets. Your council saw the emails. One of the things I found when I was going through there, I just started looking through at different things. And I know that we were talking about getting an update on capital projects and where they were at and approved funds and things like that. One of the things I noticed going through the documents, I'm just going to list 3 of them out here. It has to do with the reserves and projects that we're going through. The budget that was presented and approved by council on the February 7th one says we only approved 11 million for the Mountain Bridges update, but the council report that we put through last September says we approved 13.7. Actually, sorry, the description on the table says we spent 11. The number says we only are spending 10, but council approved almost 14. The Strathroy wastewater is the same thing. The description says 14, the budget says 11, we approved 16.6. The SEMA Plus, the EA, isn't even on the budget document. I couldn't find anywhere where that was listed on there. If I put all these changes together, they come up close to a $10 million discrepancy, and we only have $20 million of reserves in that discretionary fund. So I'm just wondering if we're going to be getting an update, and I can share these details with whoever wants them afterwards, but I'm just wondering if we're going to get an update of capital work in progress. And we did put a request forward to see where other allocated funds are, where funds have been spent to fund other projects, and we can apply for debt, and all of that stuff has been allocated and moved through. I guess maybe with all of that and those questions, we could see, get an update from the director when we should expect that report that was motioned a month or so ago.
Director Dakin, did you have input on that?
Through the chair to Councillor Wilsey, so we will provide that updated project listing. We're just closing up year end, so obviously that'll be part of the process is going through and updating all the capital projects. We started working through that process, so as soon as that is complete, the auditors are coming in, I believe, during the March break, so I would suspect I could have something back to you in April with those numbers.
Thank you. Councillor Brand.
Nothing tonight.
Councillor Derbyshire.
Thank you. I did just have a quick inquiry as to, and this is something that you don't have to answer right away, Madam Clerk. I just wondered with the closed meetings and getting those out as they are finalized or determined, how close are we to getting to that part of our policy? And you don't have to answer that now. It was just something I wanted to put out so that we can, I didn't want to motion it, I just thought I would ask.
So, through doing some research, because in all the time that I've been here, that's not something we've ever done, although it is in our bylaw to do. And I have attended some clerks' meetings, and not one clerk does it. So I'm trying to figure out the proper way to report out, kind of a template or some kind of starting point that I can determine what is the most appropriate way. So it is on my list of things to do. I'm just trying to figure out, but it's not something common at all.
Thank you very much.
Yep. Councillor Palmer.
Yeah, I just want to acknowledge all the people who came out on Saturday to the coldest night of the year walk, and it was a cold night. We had there was a great turnout, and I'm sure 37 Frank Street would say a big thank you to everybody who attended or people who sponsored. It was a good community event, and got to see people supporting people in need. So it was a great night, and thank you to everybody who supported it.
Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, I attended that, the walk, and it was a very cold Saturday evening, and I guess it's good to be mayor, because you went to a beautiful function and represented the municipality at the Blanca Festival, is that what they call it? At the Portuguese Canadian
And you
Club.
continue, I look good too, right? You want to throw that in there, Deputy Mayor?
Well, I was walking very, very chilly on Saturday afternoon, and I thought, it's good to be mayor. But anyways, I'm really happy that you were able to go down and represent the community at that function, and I see a lot of really good events going on at Portuguese Canadian Club, so well done to that community.
Thank you. I have nothing, I just have to ask Madam Clerk, the bylaws, are any that, are they all, excuse me, they're all good to go? Okay, so recommendation is that bylaw number 16-26, bylaw number 17-26, bylaw number 19-26, bylaw number 20-26, and bylaw number 21-26 receive first, second, third, and final reading. Someone to bring that motion. Deputy Mayor, second by Councillor Kennis. All in favor? That motion carries. Our next meeting is our regular council meeting of Monday, March 16th at 6 p.m. Motion to adjourn at 9:11. Deputy Mayor, second by Councillor Derbyshire. All in favor? Motion carries.